ended well.
Start, you know how it is all the time. So
Yeah.
I loved the start of the Memento wala episode. I thought that was great. Because
Actually,
it
you know
was,
what? I was thinking of one thing, that the
yeah.
one particular film we should watch before going to Oppenheimer is actually not any of the Nolan films, but
Hmm.
A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yes, I know what you
Because of
mean.
Blunt and Murphy.
Yes. If you know, you
I
know.
watched it though. I don't like it.
Okay.
I'm
No,
not a
I
Quiet
think
Place fan. Neither of
think
them.
Okay.
So
I think
yeah.
everybody should read
Hmm.
American Prometheus and come for that.
वो
Ashwani,
तो
you're
मुश्किल
reading
है
it,
सर.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading. I'm such a slow reader. I have done with 38% of the book. अभी भाग रहा हूँ. So Aryan actually reached out to me and he was like, "Ki, which book?" I said, American Prometheus. कहता add it to Audible. 26 घंटे में खत्म. Like, भाई मेरे को
he's very weird. He listens to
yeah.
really long podcasts. So he like 8 घंटे के podcast. Like मुझे recommend
Hey,
किया
those
था.
are nice.
Amit Verma fan है वो.
Yeah. Me too, by the way.
हाँ, you also. I'm like, I to listen to 2 hours and I was like, क्या है भाई? मेरा I zoned out like totally. So I was like,
अरे
whatever.
that's the whole reason why ना, जब मुझे असाइनमेंट मिलते हैं 4 घंटे 5 घंटे का, तब कुछ तो करना पड़ता है. लैब में भी तो मैं वैसा ही करता था, एक्सपेरिमेंट
Yeah.
करता था.
Yeah. No, fair
But
enough.
American Prometheus is a interesting read and पता है जितना पढ़ रहा हूँ उतना मुझे लग रहा है कि Oppenheimer will be like very, very interesting film to watch, considering the political position this guy will take. Because for some reason or
Nolan
the
is a
other, in
centrist,
all
I
his
think,
films,
more than
yeah,
anything else.
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
I mean, he's liberal, definitely. He's left inclined only, socialist values, but
Yeah.
कुछ बहुत strong tones of conservatism you can
In
see
the
in rises. And
Even
all,
Dark
but
Knight में थोड़ा बहुत है, but whatever. Yeah. He
Yeah.
is like this, but it's a. I messaged Ashwani only after seeing Dark Knight. I was like, "This is a political hot mess. It's fun
Hot
to
mess.
entangle
Oh
it."
yeah.
Yeah.
I missed out on that episode. Like I really would, if I knew, I would have joined
Us
it.
time because we hadn't planned it also. Like
yeah.
Moby,
Yeah.
I think it was more out of immediate planning. The Batman stuff I had said that we won't
You
do.
had said initially नहीं करना है.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah, I
why
wanted
the
more editing.
politics of Oppenheimer will be fun is because Oppenheimer was not himself political. He got pushed into politics because his brother and the women in his life were political.
Okay, interesting.
He had no
Let's see
starting
what he
interest.
does. Let's see. I'm very excited just because now I've
I'm-
seen Tenet and my expectations are down in the dumps.
I think anybody who has, or like Ashwani is reading American Prometheus, anybody who's read the book or is reading the book, I would wonder if they are more excited about Downey than Murphy, because I'm really looking forward to Downey. He's essentially the villain
Stacked
of the
cast,
film.
no?
Downey's playing
I mean-
Strauss, right?
Honestly,
Strauss.
what I am interested to look out for is that what position do they take prior to the bombing, because there are very crucial important characters. One is Szilard, and I was reading the cast list to see if Leo Szilard is part of the film or not, because he wrote a petition to stop America from actually bombing the city. So but
I'm
he's
sure
not,
that might be a thing, no? I mean, that would be a very dramatic tension डालने के लिए.
Also, we
would
haven't
be.
seen a glimpse of Rami Malek till now.
How?
Rami
But
Malek.
he's
That's
him,
for the
Josh
better, no?
Hartnett.
Oh come
These
on.
guys are bit players.
I'm kidding. I like Rami Malek in Mr. Robot a lot, but then I saw
Mr.
him
Robot is
in the
the
little
game.
things, and he's
It's-
abysmal in that. So
अरे forget little things. Bohemian Rhapsody में क्या था?
he was fine in that, no? Okay. This is I don't know what all will be cut for this intro to
Okay,
get
quick.
it to start, but yes,
Because
yes.
Prithwish is on a clock. Do we
Yes.
want the Dhoom 3 bits in Prestige?
You will have to
Yes,
mention
of
it.
course. Of
You will
course.
have to mention it. So
Should we
it's
cue the
inevitable.
music? Should we cue the music with Prestige?
And get a copyright strike
Yes.
from Yashraj.
No, don't.
But you sound
That's
like a
it.
truck. You sound like a truck. on the
Cut that
highway.
part. Cut that part.
Yeah, he's a truck in the highway, literally horn, but
Yes, I'm in my Bollywood dose right now, guys.
Yeah, you are high on Bollywood. So yes, you
Yes,
can
I'm high
you
on
can
Bollywood
you
so
can
much.
lay down a little
you
bit
can
on
talk
Dhoom
about
Yes.
Dhoom 3. You can talk about Dhoom
Yeah,
3.
I can talk
Yes.
about it extensively.
So our podcast today is about Vijay Krishna Acharya's Dhoom 3. Yes. No.
Discount
Okay.
Vijay Krishna Acharya. Nolan is basically
Yes.
discount Vijay Krishna Acharya. Copied, went forward into time, copied Dhoom 3 for his prestige thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Yes. Tenet dig also on
Yeah.
point there. So yes, welcome to our third episode. If you are third episode of 4 on the Nolan retrospective, I mean the last one is going to include the new film that is also coming out on the 21st of July, right? In IMAX, in 70, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm tired of listening to it. I'm tired of Nolan saying it again and again. My head will burst.
अजीब
Listening to
marketing
exhibition
है
star.
अजीब
strategies.
marketing है movie का मतलब it's like Nolan explaining the entire making of the movie to people. I'm like क्यों कर रहा है भाई?
So, this kind of leads us directly into the first film, which we are going to talk about. Because I think this film, I messaged Ashwani also saying after we finished rewatching it, I was like, can we just show people the prestige to, can Nolan just show the film prestige to people who ask him about exhibition and why he chooses practical effects and all that? I'm like,
Exactly.
you can just do this, show this, and be like, done
So
with
realistic.
it.
Yeah.
Like, finish it out. Like, you're done.
Is it also
So-
Nolan's period piece in a way?
Yeah.
Because that is the
In a
one movie
sense,
in
yes.
Regency era, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
Regency,
He has
Victorian
done
London.
it. Don't
Victorian,
yeah.
yeah. No, but so this
Oh,
is
okay, Prestige.
Prestige.
Prestige,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Prestige.
this is the first. So this is the first film of the 3 films we are going to be four films we are going to be discussing today.
3.5.
बीच में
Three and a
Tenet
half.
3.5.
बीच में Tenet
When we are talking about Ajib marketing, there is Nolan who is like explaining the entire making of the film. And then there is
Yeah.
Chad Miyazaki who said, I won't drop the trailer.
I
won't
won't
give
drop the
poster.
trailer only.
कुछ नहीं.
Amazing. Yeah.
I'll
So-
release how do we live ऐसे ही अचानक से एक दिन.
Yeah. Anyhow, the idea is, I think the grouping we've done in this is sort of science fiction Nolan phase, I think. And so, I mean, Prestige has elements of it, not that much, but like it sort of flirts around that boundary. But like it's Prestige, Inception, Interstellar, and Tenet briefly. We're going to be discussing. And so, yeah, the reason we are starting with Prestige, I think, was well set up sort of by talking about the exhibition model. I think now that Nolan keeps on harping on about, and I feel when I rewatched it this time, I thought it was really, I mean, I really liked it before also, but even on this rewatch, I thought it held up really well. In fact, like in some places I can even say that it probably enhanced in some qualities. The more you sort of know about the medium, the more you sort of know about filmmaking and other elements of sort of the world in general, I think it becomes better. And for people who aren't familiar with the Prestige, it's about magician men as morons, essentially, who destroy everything and everyone in their quest to become the best magician in the
magicians
world.
doing magicians doing dick measuring contests. That's exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so. Yeah, I should start with Prithwish. I think. I know, Prithwish, you weren't able to finish the whole film when you were rewatching it, but you've seen it before, right? So what did you sort of think about it? And...
I think when I watched it, it was like I finished just an hour of the Prestige. So till the moment I watched it, it felt like more than the magic and all the gimmicks that it represent. And by the way, it's I think the most inquisitive Nolan film of in the Prestige, and it also it presents the dichotomy of the masculinity in a world which is surrounded by all the men, by all the people who are questioning their popularity, people who are surrounded by their fames, and they have to they're in a constant tussle with each other, and they're like there are characters they are going on and off, they're just on the both sides they are giving some insights, and it's like a what happened with Batman versus Superman as well, like even like a what do you call it, in a very layman's term, I will say in a very Karan Arjun paradox. Like they are supposed to be friends.
Bollywood
they're supposed
highness.
to be, they're supposed to be on the same page.
Of all the movie you could bring in, you brought in Batman versus Superman.
No,
and
you
Karan
think
Arjun.
Karan Arjun.
And Karan Arjun.
And Karan Arjun.
That's my weird angle to this podcast. But yeah, I mean they're supposed to be on the same side, but it's the dichotomy of the society that represents that you have to be superior, you have to represent, since both of them are magicians, they always have to be at the top of their game. So they're like always they're fighting back at each other. There are people who are seeking at help and they will go at any limits and to establish their supremacy. And at the end of the day, at the end of the movie, it's just Michael Caine's character who wins. I think it's his kingdom come. It's
Interesting.
nobody. It's neither Christian Bale nor Hugh Jackman. It's Michael Caine who wins at the end
Interesting.
of the film. Yeah. So that's what I
Hmm.
think about it. I mean, Prestige is it's brilliant. I mean, even
Hmm.
with the jarring cuts, which was during that Batman Begins era, Nolan was
Mhm.
still in his jarring cuts. He still tried to.
Yeah,
He still
This is
succeeded
smoother,
to.
I think.
much smoother. I
It's
felt. Yeah.
smoother, but
Hmm.
it still had those jarring cuts when
Hmm.
his fingers got decapitated.
Hmm.
Then
This is
his
Christian
wife,
Bale's character,
Christian Bale's
Alfred
characters,
Borden's. Yeah.
Summer
Borden's.
or
Also,
Sahib, which one?
Tuck.
I noticed this weird numerology or this alphabetical order. So Christian Bale's character was called Borden.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman's character is called Angier, and there
Yeah.
was this Caldlow. I think Michael
Mhm.
Caine's character was called Caldlow. So this is
No,
ABC.
No,
Caine is
Michael Caine is
Cutter.
Cutter.
Michael Caine is
Yeah,
Cutter.
Cutter.
Yeah.
Caldo is Angier's moniker
Hmm.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's Angier, Borden, Cutter. I don't know if Nolan did that intentionally. This
Hmm.
ABC
ABC.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, ABC
Nolan
thing.
must have done it.
Yeah,
In
he has
some
done it.
ways.
And I was like,
I
okay,
think that everything is intentional here because the
Yeah.
film to me is a trickery itself. Like the
Yeah, yeah.
structure of the film is a one giant magic
Yeah.
trick pulled onto the audience,
exactly.
Yeah.
right? And so when you watch it for the first time, obviously it works like a magic trick. But the surprising part is when you rewatch it also, and when you know what
Yeah.
is going to eventually happen, it also works in the same manner. It's just that you have the knowledge beforehand, so whatever is hiding in plain sight, it's revealed to you, and you know it. But
Yeah,
it still works like a grand
Yeah.
illusion.
So
Absolutely.
basically, the entire movie, first time is the Prestige. Second time you rewatch it, you're finally getting the turn. Before the Prestige, you are understanding what the turn is, more or
Yeah.
less. So, yeah.
The Pledge, the Turn, the Prestige.
Pledge,
That's the
the
three
Turn,
acts
Prestige.
of the magic trick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so kind of
Even,
like
I
that.
think
But
this
even
film
the three
also.
act structure, even the three act structure also kind of resembles
Pretty
that.
much.
You
Yeah.
just said
Same,
my words.
exactly.
You just said my words.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It also justifies the basic epithet of filmmaking, like the three act structure in through the magic tricks, like
Absolutely.
the
I mean,
turn, the prestige, and everything. Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
Ashwini, you go first. I'll
Yeah.
build off whatever you guys have said also. But yeah, Ashwini, go ahead.
Been a while that I watched this film, but I remember, doing this Nolan rewatch
Last
thing.
to last year, I think.
Last
you
to
did, right?
last year, yeah, 2020-ish something. Because
Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason Nolan was very hot that time, like in the
Tenet aa rahi thi na?
cinephile circuit.
Tenet आ रहे थे इसलिए.
Yeah, but like maybe of course that is the reason, but it was hot in the discourse, like a lot of I could see the criticisms, and
Okay.
so I was like, okay, it's been a while for me that I have watched all those films, so let's see with a changed political outlook if films do stand or not. And of course I have had a journey and got exposed to a lot of filmmakers. Is Nolan still there? For a lot of people he is just the entry point. People start their cinephilia from him, using him as a launchpad, and
he's not the movie crowd's favorite, I suppose.
Yeah, and so that is one thing I really wanted to, was interesting to explore. And watching Prestige, and now I understand why a lot of people from the same crowd who deride his films so much love Prestige, because there is this very contrary opinion that Prestige is his best film, whatever he is made, because of what Amartya said, is that the three act structure working as Pledge, Turn, and Prestige. It does work like that, and whether or not you are watching for the first time or rewatching, like I said, it does work like first time. But the most important thing that I took away from the film would be, what is the cost of vengeance. The cost of being at the peak of a reputation is paid by Hugh Jackman's character, but the cost of vengeance is what Christian Bale pays. So even though in an illusionary way he seems to be winning, but the cost he paid. The cost he paid. So I don't think is that a victory. We cannot say that.
There's no winners in this.
There is no winners. Yeah.
At least in those two, like the two central players, I don't think.
I mean, it's a Pyrrhic victory in a way, right? Because he tries to be, like, how do I say this? I mean, if you look at it from a surface level standpoint, in a way, Bale wins simply because
there's one Bale living alive.
There one Bale alive. So
sorry.
surface level Bale wins, but objectively, it's that axiom, right? If you are hellbent on revenge, you better dig two graves.
Yeah.
that's what happens here.
Yeah.
Except for Angier's case, there are like literally 800 clips. But anyway,
Yeah.
Never really thought in the manner that actually Michael Caine is the only guy who comes out winning.
Yeah.
But like now that Amartya mentioned it, I am thinking maybe like because that person as a mentor or whatever you call him, he was focused on the magic trick. He had nothing to do
He's the
with
purist. He's the purist.
Exactly. He had nothing to so much to do with the reputation of a magician. You know, and because magicians have a reputation, be it Houdini or the Dynamo guy, it's
or PC
not so much.
Or PC Sharka, I was going to say.
Yeah. So they build a reputation on the illusion they pulled, but people don't remember illusion. People remember the reputation that they have built.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
but this person, Caine, was only focused about the magic trick itself.
Yep.
And he begins it. The film begins with him, his exposition.
Yeah.
And
very well done. Like this is good exposition. Like great exposition. Yeah.
Also, guys, I think I have decoded this formula of why Nolan has reached out to so many people as an intelligent filmmaker. Because I noticed this thing ever since he started making the Dark Knight movies. The way his films start and the way his films end. There's always a monologue. There is always something.
Montage.
Any dialogue goes on montage.
Voiceover.
The montage. It always gets to the commercial audience.
It's done well.
It is done. That's why I'll be talking about this in Interstellar as well. That is one of the most instrumental parts that made me like Interstellar even more than what I was how much I was liking it in the beginning.
Yeah.
The way it ended with all the background music and everything that was there in that montage, I loved. He is an expert. He's an expert.
Oh, he's a montage expert in general.
He's a montage
he's
expert.
Very good with editing.
Like all these YouTubers out there making edits of Christopher Nolan tributes and everything. Christopher Nolan should make a tribute of his own movies.
He probably has. Tenet is that only.
We don't need him to. Please, thank you. We have already seen Tenet. We are done.
Filmmakers who jack off to their own legacy are annoying.
For some reason, like Nolan's mechanics are very overt. Like it's brilliant, but it's out there.
That's also sort of
what
like,
you're saying. Yeah. Sorry, Varun, go ahead.
What Ashwani is pointing out, that his mechanics are very overt. It's basically him saying, look, I have access to the same kind of stuff you have access to. I just know how to use it. It's not, it's not, he's not doing magic.
No, that's a great point. But I think in the Prestige, it never feels condescending. And I'll get to Tenet where it does, to me, feel a little condescending. Where in the Prestige, what you're saying is totally right, though. He is very, and Ashwani is also like, he's very transparent with the fact that, these are mechanics which he is using. And this is pre-Tesla invents the electricity or whatever thing, which sort of...
That's because Prestige is philosophically is also very rich. The thing that I said in establishing the dichotomy of two magicians, that thing is that context is so rich. You itself, that storyline, you have enough material in it to expand it and to make the montages richer, which didn't happen, and to make it condescending. That didn't happen in Tenet. Tenet had a very wafer-thin plot. It's just a basic heist movie.
Tenet number 2.
Yes. Just
they don't call it a heist movie. Inception is the real heist.
Drop coins in a swear jar.
Yes.
The Tenet is like basic wafer-thin plot with a swear with a heist.
I don't think you can call that plot a wafer-thin.
Either
it's like you go back in time to save some sun, and it turns out to be
Nolan somehow forced us
to be Robert Pattinson. So
garbage.
It's like Back to the Future, but directed by Nolan.
We'll get to Tenet later.
But I told you we will talk about Tenet anyway.
Fine. So then we'll not get to it individually, I suppose.
I'm more influenced in this podcast to swear about or rant about Tenet than I did when I watched it back in 2020.
We'll get to it later because I think the Prestige is like whatever. Varun, you complete the thought, then we go to Amartya.
So like, Prestige is my second conscious Nolan film that I've watched in my life. Like the first is Inception, second is Prestige. I watched The Dark Knight Rises like years before, but 1 and 2, my sister was like, oh, we should see on the television. And TV pe what your mother was never going to let you hang around for 3 hours and watch a movie. She's like, get lost, go inside, study, whatever. My mother didn't say get lost, she was going to listen to this. Remove that. Remove the
cool mother you have.
Yeah, but she was like, so, and I remember and I watched it ages ago, like 7.5 years. So this was my first rewatch. And what I like about it is it's Nolan also understanding the economy of storytelling, which is something he started to lose after Prestige. If you look at his films, apart from Dunkirk, they've all gotten progressively longer and not for the better. So Inception touches 2.5 hours, Dark Knight touches 2.5 hours. All of these movies are going. Dunkirk, I think, clocks in at less than
1 hour 47.
Yeah, 1 hour 47.
Yeah.
I think for Dark Knight though, the storytelling was just about reaching there.
I'd say both Dark Knight and Inception kind of even, like, to me at least, justify it. Sort of, but like,
just about. It's like
Inception less so.
If he stretched 5 minutes more, if he stretched 5 minutes more in Dark Knight, I think it would have been overdone. Just 5 minutes more. But
but what you're saying about the economical nature of Prestige, I understand. Yes.
And also it's sort of, you don't necessarily that's why the little bits that he gives you with either Olivia or with Sarah are worthwhile.
Olivia is Scarlett Johansson's character and Rebecca Hall is Sarah's character.
Thinly written women characters. Right?
Yeah. Thinly written women characters elevated by the actors.
Elevated by the actors. Rebecca Hall supremacy. Woman can act.
She's terrific. And it's like you don't need more time with them. You get enough. You get why Sarah is infatuated with Borden at the beginning.
There's this lovely moment, no? With there's this recurring moment which I love, where it's like, do you love me today? Or something like that, which I think is like the crux of their relationship, I think. And I think that's lovely. Like the way it plays out in each scene is very well.
You weren't in that mood or something.
Yes. Yeah. In the mood for love. Yes.
And also what you guys pointed out, that Prestige is also Nolan sort of being at his sort of friendliest with the audience, that you're getting what I'm saying. I'm not going to explain too much. And he's been fairly respectful as a filmmaker.
Nolan is coming with a love story in Oppenheimer. Just saying.
2 love stories.
Okay. Back to Prestige. Later Oppenheimer next episode.
It's great in that sense that you're able to follow it. And even though now, having played Red Dead Redemption 2, I saw Tesla and I thought of that guy who's doing something with electricity.
Digression hai ye.
That's an interesting digression.
Yeah, but that guy is based on Tesla in the game.
Okay.
So,
clearly.
So I still thought that the way he uses Bowie, for instance, right?
Oh, lovely.
It's terrific. You wouldn't imagine him in that sort of situation.
Yeah.
And it's also great bit of closure to these period dramas that directors were doing at the time. So you'd had Sam Mendes do Road to Perdition a couple of years prior. You'd had Martin Scorsese do The Aviator and Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
So it's also ushering in a completely different style at the same time. Those are more classically inclined films in their treatment. And this is Nolan saying, okay, I know how to do a period drama, but I know how to do it my way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so fascinating. The characters are complex. The fact that he casts them so well, right? I mean, you take I don't know if you guys noticed this, Christian Bale looks very weird in the film. He looks a bit
he has weight fluctuations throughout his life and career, but he looks a bit bigger than he usually is.
He's post Batman Begins.
He's not muscular.
So he's not muscular.
Contrary to that is Hugh Jackman, and that's also a great way to differentiate between the two. Hugh Jackman looks the way he does because he's the showman of the two.
The greatest showman. That's that's the whole thing. It's the greatest showman versus the Dark Knight. I mean, the Dark Knight or the Machinist. Just take the Machinist, I guess, but like a big machinist.
And Bale is not really interested in surface appearance.
I'll give a better comparison after this. Continue.
But now that Varun mentioned this, I was thinking that but somehow you see this. I'll go back to the structure thing. Nolan has carved out a skeleton for all his films, and it's the same skeleton in which he's inserting his plot as flesh. And he started with following, and it had the same skeleton even in Doodlebug, for that matter, that 3-minute short. It's the same thing, but it's very raw. And in Prestige, he finally gets it. Like he has done the work, like he has reached refining it, and he has done it. Now it's upon him to use it. So after Prestige, he's using it. Till Prestige, he is trying to make it better and better. He has made it best now, the skeleton thing. Now he's using it in all his films after Prestige, and that's why somewhere when it comes to the screenplay, when it comes to the edit and the runtime thing which Varun mentioned, it's never quite the same as Prestige, because the skeleton is the pinnacle in Prestige.
What you're saying, Ashwini?
And Tenet is the beer body of.
Arey, फिर से क्यों भाई? Ashwini, what you are saying is probably the reason, I think, what a lot of people might cite also as why the Prestige is the best, quote unquote, the best Nolan film, I think.
It
It's also
feels
the most
original, it
classical,
feels
right?
original that
It's more classical, actually. That's what the word I was
Classical,
looking for.
Classical, but also original, because Nolan took inspiration from whatever people that preceded him, and then he's trying to develop a style of his own. Then he develops a skeleton, and he has reached a pinnacle in Prestige, and after that he's using his own mechanics.
Classical to Insomnia bhi thi, guys.
But
Insomnia was studio genre film. It wasn't classical.
And boring.
Interestingly, Ashwani, he doesn't use the time thingy much in this, right? It's very
time ka experimentation, no?
It's like it's just a
narrative skips.
segment. Just a bracketing
segment. I love the way it sort of but Amartya, you continue after this. I love the way it moves between the two stories.
Yes,
That's
great.
The way it sort of, narrated from one's diary and then goes into the past, but then switches into another one's diary and goes into the past. It's like weaving those two characters in a way through narrative blurring.
That is also modern. That is also modern era screenplay writing also. So like he doesn't use time in a way we are used to seeing Nolan. Like Nolan using time is like, at this point it's a trademark. Time, that is my thing. So that's not done here. But I genuinely think, because I am watching this movie after, I don't know, 10 years. So it's like, I think this is my third favorite movie of Nolan, I think, because it's, I couldn't believe how tragic the movie is. This movie just made me melancholic. It's so beautifully done, and the tragedy is that the tragedy is for everybody. The tragedy is the aftermath, because what this ultimately, these two people who are obviously brilliant in their own way, right? But all these two people couldn't see the forest for the trees. They couldn't realize that if they just listen to what Cutter, if they wanted to be what Cutter had been, that would have been enough. Instead, Bale is like the other magician, the magician who is so committed to his craft that even the old man is hobbling into the carriage. Until he gets into the carriage, he becomes his own person. Otherwise, he's always maintaining his image. So Bale is that. While Jackman is the showman. Or if we are going to say it in another way, Jackman is Tesla, Angier is Tesla, and Borden is Edison.
The other way around, or no?
Yes, it started that way. That's the brilliant part about the screenplay. It started this way, but then it shifted.
One of the most, one of the fundamental dichotomies of human life, in which like there are two players in any sector industry. One is driven by ambition, and that person will do anything, and one is driven by the craft. Like I'll stick to my craft, be it food, be it any capitalist establishment, or be it art. Right? It's always it has been there. And Amartya, you said it has the time thing. I was thinking that we all have seen that famous Nolan video in which he's trying to explain the
Inception,
Memento
thing.
The line खींच के उसमें वो frequency graph बना दिया sign वाला. I was thinking all his films are actually a circular loop. They are
Yes.
looped films, right? And this circular thing is inherently, I mean, it has time inherent to it, you know,
Yes.
be it in the structure or be it in the plot, be it in the narrative. When the film is in a circular loop, it has time inherent to it. And again a digression maybe, but using time as a circular loop was done in the best possible way by Dennis in Arrival, you know.
Yes.
And we'll get to Arrival anyway, because when we are
Because of
doing
Interstellar. Yes.
yeah.
So yes.
But but also another interesting thing is magic is like kind of like a fairy tale, right?
Illusion.
Illusion. And
It's an illusion.
And science is the one thing that is going to become the,
A fact.
Yeah. It's not even fact. Science is the outlier. Science is
it can't
the thing
you can't explain it. No, like there's some, like the machinations behind, at least at that point in the film, is something that are like elusive to these people, because Tesla himself doesn't know what it actually does, right?
And also and also that's the other thing. Science is uncontrollable, which is very weird to think about, considering what science actually is. Science is actually about
says the
controlling
PhD physics student.
And
So
can be defined by logic.
Yeah, about
can be defined by logic. Yes.
Student nahi sir, researcher.
PhD student, researcher, same thing.
Same
okay.
thing.
Sorry.
This is just my engineer persona speaking.
We are not going there, please. But
Yes.
my point being that science also is somehow uncontrollable here, and that is why when Angier says, every time he goes into the machine, he doesn't know whether he is going to be inside the trunk or he is going to be over there.
Yeah.
It's like every time he's getting in, he's like flipping a coin.
Yeah.
Another Two-Face reference, but you get the idea. So that is also fascinating to me, that how Nolan shows science as the one element that none of them accounted for. It's also it's almost like the Western genre itself completely facing modernity and facing extinction in a way, because the railroad is coming in.
Yeah.
Again, science. Again,
No,
I was about to crack a joke about flipping the coin, but never mind. Let's move ahead.
Let's not.
Also, there's like a double-headed coin in this one also, right?
Yes.
Now, I was going to talk about Shivaji the Boss, but anyway, let's go ahead.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let's move ahead.
I mean, innovation there also, come on.
Yes.
No. But what Amartya Singh is actually... what Amartya Singh is actually really... correct. And for me, at least, when I was looking at the setting of the film also, right, it's amazing. Like this time I was very much struck by how differently these people, the way he designs the places they live in, are sort of very different in their aesthetics. So it's got that sort of, it's got a very Nolan-y look in that jail cell, like that sort of grayscale, industrial. I mean, we discussed this, I think Dark Knight Rises is what some of the jail sequences remind us of, especially when it's inside the tunnel, right? Is this whole idea of being caged, and the cages are like a recurring thing in the whole film, I feel. The bird cages sort of keep on coming back, and sort of, you get this idea of being trapped in this sort of world.
It's like being trapped in the one thing you are good at, and because he's trapped in the one thing he's good at, he's going to keep on doing it. I'm talking about Gordon, and in a way, Angier also kind of becomes the same thing, and that is why when the shift occurs, that Angier finally has cracked the code and has done it better. That's when Borden becomes insecure.
Right.
And that's when Borden becomes from. That's when Borden and his twin become from Edison to Tesla. Because now it's about overpowering the other person and trying to get over it.
It's interesting how the film begins, though, by I think one of them writes in their diary that none of us wanted to do anything bad when we entered the world of magic or something like that. And I think that sort of completely collapses by the end. But
when you're talking about the classical nature of how the film works, I think one of the interesting things about it is it is largely set in London. It never shows you any of the big landmarks. It's not interested in that world. Like any film set in Victorian London will not hesitate to use those, whatever landmarks existed in London. I know nothing about London's history, so I could be out on a limb here. But
no, you're not entirely wrong here.
So what he does by not centering the film around the spectacular parts of it is that he's actually showing you that these people, what you go to a theater for today was pretty much how people went for a magic show back then. Right? The same essentially showman or craftsman in a
The
way.
magic world is very
not
much. This is pre-cinema, no?
Cinema, right?
Yeah, this is
And
pre-cinema.
and this is not even cinema, right? This is very much theater, because theater has always been a responsive audience kind of a thing.
Correct.
Yeah, so magic also is kind of that only.
I think it may even dovetail with cinema, because Lumiere's first film, I think, came out in
and
the
I also
late
think Nolan
80s.
does tragedy really well. He
In
doesn't do
this
it very
film, yes.
he doesn't do it very directly. He does it very in a very subtle way.
Also, one of the reasons why the melancholy works in Prestige is David Julian's score.
Yeah, it's really good. David Julian's underrated, I feel. Like, I know Zimmer sort of gotten the baton for
same-ish after a point, though.
I was about to not invoke that, but we'll talk about Interstellar, I think, in which his score is pretty different.
I think Interstellar score is magical. I think
beautiful. That score elevated that film to different level.
So again, we've gotten to Zimmer appreciation, but the whole thing is that I think Julian does like really good work.
Julian is very good in this.
The earlier phase of Nolan, I think.
The violin usage, the cello usage here, especially the violin usage here, and the piano usage at some of the segments. Beautiful.
I was thinking that, like Varun mentioned, not showing the London landmarks, and I was reminded that it's actually risky given the screenplay again, because if you show landmarks, audience will immediately build an association with the place itself in which the film is set.
But you are like putting it somewhere, right? You're not getting more timeless.
That is risky for the illusion, to pull the illusion. For illusion, you have to be in a very controlled environment. And that controlled environment is mostly inside, and which is like, because I remember Prestige, I remember the theater in which Jackman is performing, or the or that inside their workshop in which Bale is doing the trickery. I mean, sort of,
learning his workshop, I think, no?
Exactly, the workshop. I remember these two only. I don't. And at most, I remember that field in which a lot of hats were there.
The Tesla workshop is also there, which barely features, but is there like very momentarily.
Exactly. Also weirdly, Andy Serkis.
Oh man, he's fun.
He's fun. Yeah, he's fun in this. What I was saying was, so I think whatever you guys have said is pretty much where I am also at. I actually think while discussing it, I sort of started liking the film even more. Like, I did really like it when I watched it yesterday, I think. But it's sort of, it has that, it lingers more so than I think more of his other films also. But I thought one of the most interesting things to me, because we began with the whole exhibition thing and how he produces stuff now, was the whole practical effects versus visual effects thing almost, which I thought, because the magician's trick almost feels something like a practical effect or like a trickery thing, right? And I think the magicians, the Tesla, the science that is uncontrollable feels like special effect. And to me, this is basically like, kind of in the end, at least, it's most condemning of the scientific technology. Like, it burns down, of course, and it sort of, but I felt this was sort of like his manifesto on whatever practical effects.
I
think he realized that making multiple Hugh Jackmans is not a good idea.
Yes.
If it was any lesser filmmaker, somebody would say that it's like a scare movie against science. Because that's what it is, right? It's science.
Frankenstein, like very sort of Frankenstein.
Which is what he's saying now about AI.
This is also very,
which is what everybody is saying about it.
Yeah, it's also a very good allegory to Frankenstein. How they were creating their clone as their monsters.
I mean, it's I think but in both senses, there's like not clones, but in a sense, the whole Christian Bale sacrifice at the end is also really painful. Like, it's just this whole idea of not having a whole life. Like, again, this kind of, like, to me, everything goes back to Memento for some reason, and I feel this also does, in the sense that they're trying to deceive themselves and each other in a quest to sort of believe in something which is magical.
Also interesting that the illusion to disappear always requires a duplicate. It's either a twin brother or a clone. And it's always for the illusion to disappear.
No, what I also thought of about Borden being executed in the end is more socio-political or historical.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
the number of people Britain has wrongfully executed in its own country. Forget what it did in a country like India, where we could today argue that the execution of any of our freedom fighters was wrong.
Yeah.
But the number of people they mistakenly executed, like, you know, you couldn't prove that he did a crime beyond tangible doubt, which is what I think in the 60s led to the abolishing of the death penalty in the UK, is sort of fascinating because here you've got, you're not bothering to lock things up as they were, right? When he is appealing to people that, look, there's call law. Nobody's willing to. Also, it tells you a lot
The
about the
whole
British class system.
class system is there, yeah, a
Right,
little
he's
bit.
nobility essentially, and he tells you that right at the beginning when he tells his first wife, "My family wouldn't want to be associated with me."
With the magician,
He's
yes,
basically saying that I am born a House of Lords waiting member kind of situation,
yes,
and I can't be seen as a person who does magic tricks.
Yep. Yeah, I think
hence the adoption of an American accent and all of that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that because we're on Hugh Jackman and we'll move on after this to Inception. But on Hugh Jackman, I thought the scene where his wife passed. I mean, I know people make fun of the Nolan trope of dead wives, but like the scene of
that was tragic.
His wife's passing away, and this is really well handled. And the way I love the way it circles back in the end, and how he incriminates Bale through. So it's again. See, my Memento reference will go back. It's this whole idea of this one figment of your consciousness sort of coming back in some form or the other, or you sort of not being able to forget that and then replicating it in some way or the other later on in your life too. You know, as Ashwani also kind of said, it's circular in many senses, and how you sort of move through that time capsule of your imagination and memory. So that was really fascinating.
I did have one like closing thought on Prestige, which was Nolan basically telling us stop overanalyzing, which is Cutter telling you look at what's obvious. And that's the reality.
In a sense, no, because it's the whole you want to be fooled, right?
Look at the over-analysis of Inception.
You mean Varun don't understand it, feel it?
No, I mean, like, look at how much Inception has been analyzed. If you otherwise watch it, it's a fairly simple film. It's not that people have just turned, there's like tables and stuff on that, you know, charts, and
that's
it's all
exactly
nonsense.
my opening thought for Inception. Like when you rewatch it, you realize it's a very simple film. It's not at all that complex people made it out to be. It's also pretty coherent. You know,
it's very
level
coherent.
Pe, level pe, teen level pe
it's not Tenet.
It's not Tenet, thank God. It's very coherent.
No, but
nor is it Dhoom 3, which is also very complex and like.
You had to mention it once, no? After
yes,
the
of course. एक बार तो मैं कहना ही पड़ेगा, yes.
वो hat चुरा सकते हैं, मैं एक reference नहीं दे सकता. That hat is the same. What the hell?
Oh yeah.
The Fallon hat is the same thing Amir wears in the movie.
Okay, Varun. Since you transitioned us to Inception, you begin with it.
Okay. First conscious Nolan watch. Also, I watched it, I think, initially on a phone. And then I was
just like Nolan intended.
Just like Nolan.
And then
Sanjit is dying.
Like I shit you not, it was October of 2015. I was watching it on the phone, and the doorbell rings, and it's my uncle. He had come to pick me up so we could go buy my laptop. Okay. So we bought the laptop, and that was the first movie I watched on the laptop.
It's a good. I mean, that's some first movie to watch on your laptop, I think.
On a laptop, man, great fun. One of the things I noticed this time, among many others, in fact, Prestige ke liye I made one note, and for Inception I've got like a bunch. So one of the first things I actually noticed was like how DiCaprio's outfit is pretty much what Nolan wears, except in different colors.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And another thing that I really reveled in was they're trying to extradite him, right? When he tells Kane extradition from France to the US is a pain, I thought of Catch Me If You Can, in which his character gets extradited from France to the US. That exact thing happens in Catch Me If You Can. But all in all, like great fun, I think. And it's also one of the rare instances where he's assembled a cast which is essentially not in support. Like each of them as a character functions adequately well. Like you could do a Ken Watanabe Saito spin-off, or you could do
but but what you're saying is totally right. But I don't even think they like overshadow the main
No, they
character at
don't.
all. Like it's
They
like
don't.
they are supporting characters and they are
Yeah,
there.
they're
So I
there.
think there's a simplicity to it, which I thought I was like,
Exactly.
okay, I kind of buy it on that sort of really simple level.
Yeah, and I like
So-
that it didn't go too deep. Oh, Arthur and Cobb, they are Yarana
Yes.
or Sholay or whatever the hell. And or Dostana,
Sholay.
which is the Shatrughan Sinha Amitabh Bachchan film, I think. And
Yeah.
it's that way. It's like the humor is fun. It's a
Yeah.
light enough film in the moments where it needs to be,
Yeah.
and it's still got that parent-child thing going on, which is a recurring theme in
This
both.
will lead us into Interstellar later.
No. It will later on. But
Yeah.
the parent-child thing is also recurring in sort of in Inception. It happens in two
Prestige
ways.
also it is actually.
Yeah,
as
it's
you
there in
mentioned, yeah.
Prestige. In Inception is there in two ways, because there's Cobb and his kids, and
Yeah.
there's also Fisher and his dad.
Yes.
Mm.
It's
Right.
parallel.
So
Yes.
it's happening on both those levels. And
Don't forget the wife.
but wo-
We'll discuss her, which
She
I know
doesn't have anything
Amartya
to do
is.
with it. With
Nobody
Amartya
is
is very.
forgetting. I will bring it up. Nobody
I
is
know.
Yeah.
I know.
I think
But
one of
because we have
Marion,
divergent views on it, yeah.
one of
Yeah,
Marion,
she's the ultimate disruptor in
Yeah.
Inception.
Femme fatale.
it's also the second
Yes.
time in
Yeah.
2010 Leonardo DiCaprio was being
Yes.
done in by an
Shutter
unstable
Island.
wife. Shutter Island represent.
Yeah. I undervalued his performance when I watched it then, I think, because he was very good in Shutter Island also. And
He's
it's the
great
more
in Shutter Island.
it's the more histrionic performance in Shutter Island. I
Yeah.
think he's mellowed
better
down.
of the two Nolan films, though. I prefer Shutter Island as a Nolan film more than Inception.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh yes,
But,
everybody says that.
But Shutter Island's
Island
so
is a
fun. It's such a
Yeah,
pulp. It's
it's
also like pulp and
pulpy.
like mixture of pulp and serious, whatever.
It's what
Did
would happen
Scorsese-
if
did
like
Scorsese
Scorsese was to
literally
flirt with Cape Fear again.
Yeah. That's literally what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
but
Inception that way, great fun, straight up.
Yeah.
So
Like,
it's
Yeah.
completely Nolan, because again, hiding in plain sight
yeah.
and this big illusion and all.
twist also last grand twist in Shutter Island.
Scorsese is the more Gupte of this film. Like,
Yeah.
he's just for the character credit.
Yeah.
I don't
You
really-
have,
Amir Khan.
Yeah,
I
He's
don't
not a
really-
whole.
I don't really remember last time Nolan gave any kind of plot twist, like proper plot twist to his films. I think
I think
the turns.
it's a bit in this, no? Interstellar with one character.
Interstellar?
We will discuss
Yeah, I guess
His
so. But
somewhat. Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh,
think those
Dr.
are more
It
like
happens
Mann,
too early
generic
in the film.
twists and
Yeah.
turns in his screenplay. Those are more like allegories, I think.
Nee,
Nah,
that's
but
true.
the
Prestige mein
Interstellar-
to
but the
Prestige
Interstellar-
mein everyone is backstabbing each other. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
no one is
exactly.
sort of,
But the
You don't
Interstellar one
consider
is,
them as twists and turns, plot twists and plot.
but the Interstellar one, the one which you are thinking about, Dhruv, is actually a plot twist, right? You are thinking about
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Or
Matt
the
Damon,
I'm
yeah.
also thinking about Michael Caine. But okay, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
the
the
Michael Caine one is
Michael
like
Caine
a
one-
plot,
It's not a
description of
plot
an
twist, it's
it's
more
an
like a,
inevitability. It's an
yeah,
inevitability.
Okay.
inevitable.
Okay.
It's
okay.
like
we'll
the,
get
the,
to it.
on the verge of ice or on the verge of a cliff.
We'll get to it because I
like
think
that,
that the scene in which it is revealed is
Yeah, where all
one
hell
of Nolan's
breaks loose.
worst scenes.
Yeah.
So we will get
Let's-
to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, Inception, Amartya, you can go next. Sorry.
No.
Because you will voice out your problem, which is why I've told you.
कौन सा problem? Oh, वो problem, right? Can you imagine? You even forgot about it. Just goes to
That's
tell
because
you.
That's because you've been overwhelmed by some other form of plot.
Yes.
Yes. Some other form of idea and virus to follow the Inception.
The spiritual successor to this movie. Yeah. Anyway, so it is. That's how it was marketed as. The
Not
point being that I remarked that Inception is, for a person who had worked with Batman for 3 movies, Inception is his most comic book movie. Yeah, because it really reads like a megafin which should only exist in a comic book, a device which lets you get into somebody's dreams and implant an idea.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate wish fulfillment in a way. You know, take away memories, implant ideas, and all that.
Yeah.
It's hilarious if you think about it, and then you realize that there is a Donald Duck comic written by Don Rosa, which basically has the entire plot of this movie.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
we also, I know when we get to Ashwani, I know one film reference is also overdue, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think Ashwani will bring up Paprika, if I'm not
Yes,
wrong.
yes, yeah,
Which again, holy crap, that one. So,
yeah.
but no, the Don Rosa comic book is like the Beagle Boys want to get into Uncle Scrooge's head, Uncle Scrooge's dream, so that they can steal the combination to his money bill.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Okay, and Donald Duck's entire job is Donald Duck will have to get into the dream and try to stop Uncle Scrooge from telling the mystery.
Interesting. Yeah.
Telling the
Donald Duck
combination.
being the Inception protagonist.
Yes,
That's
something.
Nolan lost a career opportunity because it could have been his first animated film.
Yes.
अभी आएगा sir
exactly.
इसके बाद
Exactly.
Oppenheimer
Disney
के बाद
presents.
animation.
Exactly.
Also, I think in Inception there are multiple MacGuffins. It's
Yeah.
not just the totem and the dream machine. I think it's the
Are they
train.
MacGuffins or are they just symbols? I feel like motifs of like whatever.
They can be motifs.
MacGuffin?
They can
But
be
MacGuffin, though, you
MacGuffins.
need to find,
You
no?
need
Like
it.
I feel.
No,
yeah.
and it's involved in the plot.
Plot.
They
Yeah.
don't drive.
Yeah.
But has to be
The
useless. But has
top
to be
could
useless.
just as well be a button.
Yeah.
इसमें
more on
MacGuffin
Don't
क्या है?
say
इसमें
button.
तो-
I'll throw another Bollywood
No.
reference. Don't say
No.
button. Okay? Don't.
It's triggering.
Don't.
It's triggering.
I'm very much triggered. No, don't say that.
So no, again, it's like the skeleton of the plot, to build upon what Ashwini said, the skeleton of the plot you can call back to that comic book, and then again you realize, if you read a bit, that Nolan has been developing this story for over 9 years.
Yeah.
So you can understand that some of it might have come from that comic, and then he has been tweaking on it and tweaking on it and tweaking on it.
Yeah.
There are also symbols of Batman also in it, because there is a Batman comic in which Batman trains his mind so that an alter ego can protect his mind if he is attacked psychically. Okay, that was in a Grant Morrison comic. So I was like, interesting. You kind of get the idea over there, because Cobb in the movie says that all these people who are being training, they are like the white blood cells towards intrusions into the dream.
Yep.
It's also a Harry Potter thing, because in Harry Potter there is a segment where somebody wants to break into your mind called legilimency. The way to protect this is occlumency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So that is another way. So all I'm saying is these are inspirations or thought process or however it is. It all depends on how Nolan structures the storytelling. The skeleton is the heist.
Yeah.
The skeleton is the heist. The entire point of the movie isn't the heist. The entire point of the movie is a form of wish fulfillment and is a form of redemption.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, as much as I hate the way the woman character is written in this, I can't ignore the fact that the woman character is basically a manifestation of the guy's own insecurities. Because he admits to himself in the movie that I can never create you with all the imperfections of the real man.
Yep.
You are beautiful, you are lovely, but you are not her.
Yeah. It's a projection, no?
It's a projection.
Yeah.
It's a projection which he's giving power by putting more and more, motives or totems of that.
Yeah.
It's the same way how human beings feed on their own insecurities by searching for clues and definitions which can only feed into that.
This goes back to Memento. Sorry.
This again goes back to no.
Yeah.
It's perfectly true.
Yeah.
It's again Nolan through genre filmmaking is commenting on the human condition.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It's an action thriller about life of the mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
but I mean, but that's kind of what Prithwish said. I mean, to me, that's insane. Like to make that movie on for $250 million, like to make a movie about that.
Also, I had this kind of a controversial debate when I wrote about Inception in Letterboxd, that I think it's I don't know if you guys would agree with me on this, but I think it's Nolan's most style over substance film.
I don't agree.
I disagree.
I disagree
I think there is
also.
a.
I mean, it's also because
I think
Tenet
there is a
exists.
balance.
I mean,
Tenet.
Yeah, Tenet exists. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Tenet
almost feel like
exists, of
going
course, yeah.
Kaner Mehndi, like Tunak Tenet.
No, but I think I
don't
still
agree
think that
because I think
Inception
Nolan
is
is one of those directors in which style is the substance. Now, this is
Huh,
again
it's
a
a
very
little bit
murky
like this.
debate. Like
Huh.
people
Yeah.
come at you ki it does not mean anything sometimes and it does sometimes. So I would like to believe that in all Nolan films, style is very substantial, you know.
Yeah.
Because the films won't work. Again, we go back to the skeleton thing,
Exactly.
the way, and you know, now that we are talking about it, we always make fun of the dead wife trope, but we never call it the fridging trope. And the reason is that he's never using the dead wife more than a plot driver, because they are important plot drivers, but they are not the sole source of motivation for the protagonist.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a
Which
revenge
happens.
spree that is happening through the
Yeah.
different.
Which happens in a movie which came out 2 years ago, which both Dhruv and I hated, called Thar.
Called what?
Which happens.
Thar. Remember Thar?
Oh, yeah.
No, I
Thar.
don't.
Which happens
That's the
in
thing.
every film. Yeah, John Wick is entirely built on
John
fridging
Wick is
trope.
entirely built on that. Yeah.
Pathan is built on fridging trope. So
Yes.
so,
By the
but
way,
Pathan now.
freezing. Again, another
Baad
comic
mein,
book
Varun,
Again,
after
another
the
comic
episode
book
ends.
yeah, but like point is ki now that I am saying ki it's a trope, but I also see that Nolan is sort of trying to. So Nolan is very inspired by Kubrick, right? And but point is ki Nolan somehow is one of those people. Again, I could be assuming, but one of those people who think that Kubrick is perhaps too cold, and he has to
I think
fill
he
his
definitely
gap.
does think.
Yeah, and he has to
I
fill
think
that gap
Interstellar
in
is.
his films.
I think Interstellar is the proof, right, Ashwani, that he thinks
Every
Kubrick is
film,
too
you know,
cool. Yeah, too
exactly. So what he's doing, Nolan is what he's doing is that in every film, he's not actually starting the film with a human, with anything about human condition, but inserting elements
it.
about human condition,
Absolutely.
which are not inorganic to the plot, but they are inserts. They are
No,
not.
but what you're saying, Ashwani, I think, and this is also sort of the whole answer against the sort of style versus substances. I think Inception integrates the two almost like the most beautifully. Almost. I think it's the way it moves. Like I mentioned to Amit, the number of times his subconscious actually appears in like throughout the film. It's so consistent in how much Maul dominates frames, and when even he's in like the second or third layer,
it is.
He just keeps on coming back in like various forms. So I feel this whole idea of, you know,
the frequency increases each layer, down he goes.
In a sense. So I always thought that I bought the this is where Amartya and me disagreed. I think I bought the Maul character much more, partially because of the performance. I thought Kodia's performance was very effective. So
I didn't like her performance that much.
Yeah, exactly. Same for me. It felt like more like it was. I mean, Marion Cotillard in Nolan's films are kind of a misfit.
I mean, I think Rises, she doesn't get much to do. I think
Rises is the ultimate misfit. In Inception, she's still like a catalyst.
Yeah.
I guess, but yeah, I mean,
I think her performance is stylized, and that's why I kind of liked it.
That's why I was saying it's more style over substance. Because
we brought this up, because every time I see a Nolan film, I see some or the other acting anomaly, you know, and I have never found an answer, because it's not like something that is annoying me. It's not something that has things written on it. You don't find it, and I'll tell you what. There are certain very small sequences in which you see the great actors performing in a way which is neither unconventional nor conventional. It's just very odd. You know, even in the introduction scene of the Dark Knight, जिसमें वो Joker shoots that banker. After that, the way he acts, like it's different. I don't know why Nolan, and it makes the final edit, you know. It always makes, and these kind of things always make the final edit. And that's why you can't reject them outrightly. It's where the actor performed very badly.
Yeah, no, but I actually think it works for the film. Like, to me, at least it does, because I think it again plays into the whole idea of it being a projection, it being a sort of, performative projection. Like,
In Inception it does, but in
yeah.
all films it does not.
No,
Like
no,
in
all of
Tenet,
them it
there
doesn't,
is
of course.
Kenneth
Yeah.
guy. Kenneth guy actually shouts beach mein, and that shout was so terrible. Like, why did it make the film?
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
The
That's
shout
what I
came
was
out of
going to say.
nowhere.
Like all the scenes where I don't know if it's the DiCaprio's acting or the cop's character, but
Yeah.
till all the moments he had with his wife, he was actually kind of annoying. Like even
Okay,
DiCaprio
interesting.
wasn't acting his heart out, but after
Okay.
when he's revisiting his memories or when he's talking about her to Elliot Page's character,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
Ariadne?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's talking to Ariadne about her, he's
Mhm.
doing that very effectively. That is coming out very organically.
Okay, interesting. I
Yeah,
thought,
I
because to me, actually, one of the things that really works about some of Nolan's films, and this is my first Terrence Malick plug, second one will come in Interstellar, is the brief flashes you get of memories that sort of, burst
Yes.
through the sort of mechanics of it.
Beautifully
So,
done. Not
to
as
me,
good
they
as
work
Malik,
like a lot.
but
So
It's
yeah.
the flashes, right? It's the hard cut.
yeah, it's like him like looking out of the window and then viewing
Yes,
her
yes,
for a second before she jumps. Like, it's just
Yes.
that, it's immediacy, it's spontaneity, it's breaking the sort of mechanics of everything that are sort of going on there. I think that sort of really plays out to me. So I thought the whole woman, like their relationship
It impacts
worked.
you more than the actual deep dive into that memory. Right?
Which is
always
Memento. I think Memento does it perfectly. I think this
Perfectly.
one, of course,
It's-
needs to elaborate on it. So
it's
yeah.
also Nolan pulling you back as an audience. That
Yeah.
my film is about human condition. It's not
Yeah.
about the
Yes.
plot, because plot is deceptive.
Yes.
So let me pull you back. And
Yes.
it's always it's in all his films,
Except
Inception
Tenet.
is high
Even Tenet has that.
Even Tenet
is
had
Internet.
it.
It is Internet. Yeah, yeah.
With Elizabeth
Very less.
Debicki's character,
With
actually. Yes.
very less, but yeah. It is.
Yeah, it is. Sorry. Yes.
But now that we are discussing Inception,
Yeah.
I'll just because we have a lot of good things to say about Inception, I think there is one thing I would like to mention which prevents it from becoming a perfect film for me, and
Yeah.
it's the neatness of it. When Inception is a film that essentially is about dreams, and for any film that is about dreams, it cannot be that consistent, coherent, and neat.
Is
At
it
least not
consistent
for
and
me.
coherent though?
It is coherent.
Yeah.
Consistent, you only said. That's your argument I'm picking.
No,
But
consistent
neatness is
in the
my
sense of
It needed to be more surreal, Ashwani.
surreal. It also needed to have more unexplainable elements.
Yes.
Because I'll tell you what, I mean personally I dream a lot, and for some reason I also remember a lot of dreams. And when I make a film, I actually have a story in my head, and because of course I'm inspired by Satoshi Kon, I'm inspired by all the filmmakers and films that I've seen, but dreams are a major source of inspiration, and no dream is anything that is sort of surreal. Whatever you dream, it has a majority of elements which you cannot put in
account
a
for.
real
Yeah,
world context
absolutely.
and explain for.
Yeah.
And for that film Inception, no matter, okay, you can say that it's an experimental design, it's totally controlled, but when you're talking about control, you are also talking about sleep paralysis and dying in a dream. And when you're talking about those things, you cannot have complete control. So when you don't have absolute control, it cannot be that.
But Ashwani, I'd counter that by saying that the complete control is what is being consistently broken down by the subconscious bursting out. Like, that's to me the idea of.
But like it is still neat. The bursting out is still neat.
But then
but the dreams are engineered, right? The dreams are not natural. They are being put into an artificial state.
That's the thing.
Now, this is where I bring Paprika. Now, Paprika is not about engineering dreams, but definitely is about going into the dream at wish and then again doing terrible things about it. But one brilliant thing Satoshi Kon does is that due to this highly controlled nature of the reality you are creating in your mind, so at one point the threshold gets broken and the reality start collapsing into the fictional reality that you have built. It happens in Paprika. It never happens in Inception so much. So the collapse is not happening. The dimensional break is not happening.
Okay, interesting. But my thing was that I justified this by thinking how much of his subconscious seeps in to each and every facet of that organization, organized element.
I think the collapse is teased, right? I think that's the inevitability. The fact
but my thing is, it's like a $250 million film. Like, I think it's doing so much for like that. So I guess in my head, I'm sort of justifying.
No, but like these are also disturbances. Now, whenever a subconscious anomaly is happening, they are somehow notified that okay, something terrible is happening in the real world, or something terrible is happening in the previous level.
No, but what? How do you explain that for the mall character appearing? Like that's not related to what like if one layer above something is happening, that's not like synonymous with the mall character, right? She's appearing sort of like a random interloper at every junction. I feel like she's the subconscious.
But she's the only interloper.
I mean, that's because we are linked into we have to sort of
Hollywood. Yeah,
we are going with the assumption that all these other people have had some strong training where their conscious can't sort of seep into this thing, of course.
Yeah, but all the people can explain the stuff that they are building or seeing, right? And even when they cannot, they have their totem to hang on to, so that they can at least know if they are stuck in the reality realm they created.
I get what you mean. I think this is the whole dream, the dream thing being married to a heist film ka mechanics will anyways have, I think.
And I think this is when they were demonstrating the fact that when a person in a dream gets shot or gets hurt, he actually dies. It actually also kind of states the fact that man is gradually being dominated by machines. That these engineered dreams can actually kill you.
Yes, that's
but when they get shot, they wake up, right?
Yeah.
When they get shot, they wake up.
They wake up.
Yeah.
No,
they don't die.
There was
they get stuck in limbo, no?
No, that is in limbo. That's from third.
That's when the person is actually dying in one layer and you can't get out. If you are getting in more layers, that means it's getting harder and harder for you to wake up.
So because of the sedative, I think it was said that he'll probably die in the layers, but not in reality. In reality, he'll just sort of become what Maul sort of become after she got incepted by the idea. But this
is also that's what I was saying. Like this man over machines. This point.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Or on machines over man. What I was trying to justify. That maybe these engineered dreams are not the thing.
Engineered dreams to me are basically films, though, kind of. Like that's a very.
Of course. Those are like interpretation of what you're facing in your reality or in your subconscious mind to channel it out to something in your conscious mind.
That's a meta narrative anyway, right? Each and every member of the heist he's choosing can easily be,
he based it on filmmaking principles.
Crew and every facet of
So I mean, I was looking at it in this second watch. I was saying 4 times I watched it when it came in 2010. So I'm obsessive, but I thought I'd like it less.
A lot of disposable pocket money you had in 2010.
I was with my parents, so I was.
We were all living with the parents.
I watched a Camry version of Inception when it came out in 2010. Yes.
Okay, this is worse than me. Definitely.
Sanjeet is going to die.
I watched a Camry version because back then I was a Bollywood guy. I was like, okay, Nolan is making
everything is on Camry.
Everything. I'll watch some Hollywood blockbuster movie in Camry. I'll watch it in a hall print, in a very bad print. Then I'll maybe
but I mean, I get so I don't watch that much, Varun. पहले देख लिया, गलती हो गई, but अब 12 साल का break देके देखा था ना. So 12 years after also, I was kind of in awe of how much it did work for me.
To Inception.
Please do not. No need to invoke that.
Also, the spiritual sequel Amartya was talking about. I mean, how that movie was marketed to build up the hype, like Robert Pattinson and
they actually thought like sequel.
They drew several fan theories. They drew several fan theories about how Robert Pattinson is actually the son of Dom Cobb.
This is one of those 50 Shades ka fanfic type of thing.
It's all about
that you know about 50 Shades fanfic is very telling.
And it's all about catering the basic primary or the nursery cinephiles.
just
Oh
let's
God,
discuss
don't be an
Tenet and get over
exclusionary
with,
Prithvish.
ये इतनी बार जो आ रहा है ना, let's discuss it and get over with it.
No,
Which one?
Tenet will be coming.
Tenet.
अरे
no,
वो
no,
आएगा
Tenet
end
is-
में
no,
खत्म.
no,
The
Tenet
way-
is like man.
वो आता जाता
Actually,
रहेगा.
Tenet
The
is
way
like
Prithvish
man.
said-
That's the subconscious. It's
Tenet, yeah, exactly. Tenet has become this
Punching bag.
interruptions. Like,
yes.
He's like
Ramcharan's punching
Stanley.
bag in RRR.
Yeah, he's like Stanley in our podcast. He's making cameos here and there.
No,
Yes.
the
Just
way
popping up.
Prithvish said early cinephiles, and
Nursery
or
cinephiles.
nursery cinephiles.
Nursery
The way,
cinephiles.
the way anybody seen Bhagat Singh, the Ajay Devgan one, उसमें लिखा था ना at one point, dogs and Indians keep out. It's like Prithvish is demarcating the area of nursery cinephiles keep out.
Bollywood fans and Nolan cinephiles are not
The
allowed here.
ultimate gatekeeping of cinephilia. Yes.
Very, very much so. But
Yes.
I had a point about what something Ashwani was saying, which is there is actually one, I think, unexplained element in the film, and I could be wrong. I don't think they ever get down to explaining COBOL engineering. They just leave that. It's COBOL engineering is something someone Cobb has screwed with, and that's it.
There is a fan movie which is present in the Blu-ray.
You said something, right? Yeah.
The
I
COBOL
bought
job.
Yeah.
The COBOL
yeah.
job fan movie made into the Blu-ray. So basically, that means that Nolan actually authorized it, or Nolan actually gave its blessings.
Warner authorized it. Let's not
Nolan को
Nolan.
छोड़ो उसको बाहर. हाँ. I mean इस discussion से not like actually छोड़ दो बाहर नहीं.
So that job basically kind of showed that COBOL is also like a company. COBOL is a company which is coming after.
Yeah. You know, one of the other things I'm going to basically champion this because I love the film so much. So one of the things that I noticed this time was I loved the way how he like gets us into the film. Like it's structured in a way where you first follow like the extraction phase. So you get first you go outwards, like you do, like you're inside the most deeply layered thing, and then you sort of come out. You're like, he's basically like extracting you.
Yeah.
I thought that was fascinating. He does this twice, I think, when you're with Ariadne also. The first time she goes inside the dream, you sort of, and then
that in medias res kind of.
Exactly, in media res, absolutely. And then later on, he kind of explains all the mechanics, and then you sort of like go layer by layer by layer sort of inside it. I thought that was insane, and I thought this is the other film after Dark Knight. I thought the cross-cutting was immaculate. I thought the way it moved between the four things was absolutely sensational. The kick up, especially when it happens towards the end, I was like,
I think
insane.
Also there was one particular scene when in Somalia or what was that?
Mozambique, I think.
Mombasa.
Okay.
Mombasa. Yeah. In Mombasa when
Jagga Jasoos reference.
Oh man.
I like Jagga Jasoos.
Oh man.
I also enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love that movie. I love that movie.
Amartya's gone, no? Good.
Fight me. Fight me with all you got.
Ashwani, do you like it?
Jagga Jasoos with all my life.
I mean,
no.
I don't hate it. I don't dislike it. I don't hate it.
Okay. So not almost pyar, which I got abused by.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying. That there is one scene where DiCaprio was is trying to escape through this thin wall.
Yes.
And if you see it when there's two shots to it. One is when he's going through the wall and there's a back shot of it when he's trying to escape. Then there is this shot. The next shot of it is coming out of the wall. When he's in that
gap
stuck in that wall. Yeah. If you see that in the back shot, the background is not Mombasa, the busy city. It's more like an abyss of an emptiness.
Yeah.
It's
fantastic.
I think it more reference to that river or that sea where he was stuck in.
Yeah. There's a lot of water imagery in this also, right?
Yes.
Which is why people said this is Titanic a sequel. Which is
devastated flats or those buildings.
Yes, that is definitely industrial thing is definitely.
That might be a signal too. I think that might be a symbol to it.
Cobb went down to the bottom of the ocean, and that's how he started.
Yes.
Is that the theory, the Titanic theory?
That is a very beautiful.
it begins at the
Oh,
sea, so that's the
yeah.
Titanic. Yes,
But
yes.
how did he
like,
go
Yeah.
from the North Atlantic
अरे
to
मुझे क्या
Pacific?
पता यार.
Nolan will
Are
like
you guys literally doing a fan theory on Titanic?
That's
No,
not. We didn't create it.
Inception
It's
is
there.
designed to be like that, to create fan theories, and that's what it did because it's designed as a blockbuster
No, but
action
like
movie.
I hate this entire discourse about creating fan theories about a
No, but I
simple, very
agree. I am
simple
with
film.
you. I
You
just
know,
said I
everything-
saw this
The
somewhere.
worst
So.
thing in the Nolan cinephilia
Yeah.
is whether like वो क्या बोलते हैं end में क्या होता है, is it reality or dream?
Yes.
Like the totem
Doesn't
starts
matter.
juggling.
At
like,
least
That,
about
that's what I
Dunkirk,
said.
they
Na,
couldn't ask that.
his montages are so good.
Yeah.
And all these
Yeah,
This one is
but like-
silent also, no? There's no dialogue in this, I think.
People are
mostly.
after Nolan.
No.
Ki, please explain the ending.
Pagal
Fuck,
hai.
its ending is already
Yeah.
explained. It starts
Huh.
stumbling.
Like, I don't, like, this is a very
नहीं,
weird
वो
thing,
सब
but
भी नहीं है,
Nolan
वो सब भी नहीं
always
है, वो tumbling-
explains.
अरे tumbling छोड़ो. The entire point of the thing is not that it is going to tumble. The entire point of the thing is Cobb is not looking at it.
Yes, yes.
Every time he's spinning it, Cobb looks at it every time because
Yeah.
he's confused. Am I in the dream or am I in reality?
Yeah.
Exactly.
This time he's not looking at it.
Not
he walks
looking.
away to his
Yeah.
children.
Even, but it's a very, I would actually, this is my cynical self. I would actually prefer if it is a dream. So I think it makes it more poignant or poignant.
Wahi baat, but then it does not matter whether it is
It
dream
does
or
not
No, I
reality.
know it
He is with
doesn't.
children. He
I
is
know,
with his children.
I know.
He's
I
with
know.
his children. The reality should be real, right? The
No,
reality is
I
where
know,
it should
I
go.
know.
Point is, as an
yeah.
audience, where you are. A
Yeah, of
lot
course,
a
exactly.
lot of people are still stuck in the dream of Inception.
Huh.
They have to get out of it. Like
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think we discussed a little bit of this in the first episode also, which we recorded, where just I think we were pretty critical of the discourse and just fandom around Nolan that's probably become the reason why actually you might have seen a critical reappraisal of some of Nolan films. In fact, I feel people don't like the fans, so they also don't like the film sometimes, which I.
But I mean, the fans are obnoxious because
I know.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
I started following Nolan's work.
Started following.
I started following the work around 7 years ago,
Yeah.
and I was in the 11th. So 11th में सब Nolan fan because this is year and a half after.
It's the
IMDb
bro
top
culture,
250.
no?
IMDb top
Film
250.
bro.
Yeah, the
Yes.
bro culture. They're like IMDb top 250. I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
there are
सबसे
other films on
चूतिया
the
list
top
of the
250.
decade. I'm
Who-
sorry. I'm really sorry. But
Not just that, but
It's because you have
It's-
grown way
it's
past over that list. That's why.
अब हम
Exactly,
letterbox
it's
को
not
Why
bad.
you are
देखते
calling
हैं.
it a
It's a good
Chutia
list.
list? Otherwise,
No,
it's
I mean,
not.
if
It's
that
not.
list was so
I mean, you can
addictive,
convince
you
people
would
to watch
appreciate
Shawshank.
Pacific
You
Rim.
can't convince people
Yeah.
to watch Harakiri because Harakiri at
Exactly.
the end of the day,
Yeah.
black and white Japanese period drama in a foreign
Yeah.
language.
No,
Yeah.
and if
So-
you're
Even-
so
even
interested
for
in the
Seven
top
Samurai.
250, watch
Even
like
for
a
Seven
Clint
Samurai.
Eastwood.
Yeah.
we are not getting into Kurosawa. मेरा fandom
Yeah.
निकल जाएगा. We are
कुरोसावा
not-
कहाँ से आ गया? अभी तो हराकिरी
हाँ,
भी था.
exactly.
नहीं
Yeah.
हराकिरी आया, सेवन समुराई
अच्छा,
आया.
सेवन samurai भी आया. Okay,
हाँ.
okay. I was like, okay.
No, and there was actually one last thing I had to say. I don't know if
Yes,
you
yes.
guys
Please
are
go
done
ahead.
about
Then we go to the stars.
Yeah. So
No, I'll
I-
be
That's
the
an Ad
biggest
Astra
Nolan
reference.
fan.
It's like-
I'll be
Don't
the
go
biggest
gentle.
Nolan fan.
Don't go
Don't-
gentle.
Do not again. I am not.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It
How much
works.
slander here, please? That poem is great. Come on.
It is,
Do not
but
go
not
gentle.
4 times recited in a film. Okay. Anyways, what were you saying, Varun?
yeah, I thought like some of the sort of set pieces that Inception has are like great throwbacks to some of the films Nolan sort of has,
I'm
talked
guessing
about. So
James
I don't
Bond
know
must
any-
have been a reference.
Obviously,
right?
on Her Majesty's Secret
Mhm.
Service, the Peter Hunt film with George Lazenby.
Is that the snow
Bond.
stuff?
That's the snow stuff. The
Okay.
attack on Blofeld's lair by Bond and Tracy's father.
Okay.
That's
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Greatest Bond girl performance by far. Diana Rigg.
Thank you.
हाँ बस
Somebody
ठीक है हो
fucking
गया
said
हो
it.
हो
हाँ.
गया Bond आगे अब. हाँ.
So that is, I think, a great sequence in itself.
Yeah.
I also think the shootout that happens in the gunfight rather in the car, it's like Heat, like that downtown LA shootout.
in this
takes
is in
place
this is in New York. New York or wherever it happens.
Wherever
like,
it
we have
happens, because the city is
nondescript
sequence,
American
na?
city.
Yeah.
The train sequence
Arey,
when they
the
were
train
being
coming
chased
out
by
of
the
the
train
cars.
nowhere is
rams in.
fantastic. That is such a well
That's
done.
the whole subconscious
Yeah.
thing bursting out.
Yes,
No, like
yes,
his
yes,
freight
yes.
train ka
In
thing.
That
fact,
was
when
so
the
much.
train
That
came
was so much
crashing
of
in, I
heat
was
reference to it.
reminded of the John
Heat देखनी
Frankenheimer
पड़ेगी यार.
film, The Train.
The
Please
fact
go
that you
watch
haven't
it.
watched Heat is insane to me.
It is fantastic.
अच्छा ठीक है देख लूंगा.
Also watch The Train if you're interested, because you're talking about
The
practical
train
effects.
as in the Imran Hashmi movie.
No.
Dhruv,
Oh
you're not
Christ!
in
The bird,
Heat.
the
Oh
bird,
Christ!
You're
the
not
Burt
in Heat,
Lancaster
Dhruv.
film.
I haven't seen Ashwani. Yeah, I haven't. अरे कुछ
अच्छा.
गलतियां होती है सर
No,
इंगमार
but
बर्गमैन
गलती
में
नहीं
when
है,
you get
गलती नहीं.
into
It's I think it's more important to watch Heat than Paprika, because Heat is
Okay.
like it's very important if you are into Dark
Nolan ka
Knight
stuff,
and
no?
Inception. Yeah,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I know of the aesthetic. I've
Yeah.
not seen the film, but I know
Heat
of
and
it. But
Heat
yes,
and The
Yeah.
Killing. These two.
the
Yeah.
Kubrick film. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, The Rain is like a Blade Runner reference throughout. Like,
Huh.
whenever it's,
Throughout.
yeah, it's there in Dark Knight. In
सही है. I mean,
Batman also.
it's better
I
than
mean, I
Blade.
don't-
Most of his films are better than Blade Runner.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I don't like Blade Runner,
Yeah.
the original.
I don't
I like
Blade Runner either.
I like 2049 quite a bit too. So.
Yes.
But
Anyways.
and
But
also
like-
I think highly underrated in the sense nobody talks about it. That chase sequence in Mombasa is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah. The
It's like
score, man. The score,
Core is
the-
very different there. That's
Yeah,
not very
yeah.
bomb.
it's like somebody shooting
whatever.
a sequence in Dharavi slums or something like that. Kashyap did it in Black Friday, I think. Right, the chase sequence that inspired
Slumdog में भी था sir.
everyone.
Yeah,
It
Slumdog maybe
inspired
था.
Danny Boyle's
Yes.
sequence for Slumdog.
Yeah.
And chase sequences can be like hard to do.
Yeah.
In like, especially if you're in an exotic country, you want to show everything. Nolan's like, screw all that. Just watch us go with the camera. And like
Very
the whole thing of DiCaprio, I loved that. It's so telling of like quote unquote third world architecture. That buildings are so close to another. He's trying to get out of that, and it's like
Good.
gorgeous.
Let's go back to the
yes,
stars.
to the
It's
stars. Yes,
inspiring.
yes.
It's
Ad
Go
Astra.
back.
James Gray.
Extra.
Yes. I kid. Anyways, we go to
Yeah,
Interstellar, which is going to be the most contentious.
Are
I
we
suppose.
discussing Once Upon a Time in Anatolia now, please?
No, please. No.
No, we are not.
We'll get into a whole other debate about that guy and his films, but no. We go to Interstellar by Christopher Nolan. Is the one film I think we all have very varied opinions on. I think all of us like it to
Yes.
some degree. It's just the degree to which I think some of us like it and the others like it. So I'll
I
let
admire it a lot more now. I think we should
Yes.
let you speak on it.
yeah I'll let Prithwish speak first because he might have to head soon. So
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, so I mean, Interstellar, as I said, like surprisingly, Interstellar resonated with me more than Inception.
Hmm.
Given that I used to like Inception a lot because of its stylish set pieces, be it the action sequences, be it the philosophy or anything.
Mhm.
But I think the tragedy in Interstellar stuck with me more this time. Be it whatever people talk about the father-daughter relationship, be it the cheesy or very on your face type,
Yep.
or be it very very obvious thing. But I think after watching it several times and going through all the discussions that happen on social media, because Nolan's films are highly talked, they're highly
Yep.
discussed. So
Yep.
given that these films have become very easy for me to decode, and that's why this time I concentrated more on the emotions part of it than the
Science.
scientific, the scientific part of it. The scientific part of it didn't really stuck with me this time.
Yep.
But the reason that why I like this movie is more because of how Nolan marries the idea of leaving your family behind and like living and in a state of where you can't get back easily, and you can't just like keep in contact with your family, and you are dying to stay for it. Like stay is the word
Yes.
in Interstellar. So I think
Yes.
he marries the idea very beautifully, and it also also justifies the idea of how living a long life unknowingly is painful for you. And I think that is it. Like in the last scene where Ellen Burstyn actually says that you can leave right now, and Matthew McConaughey's character is actually doesn't show any kind of emotion because he has reached that state of mind where he can actually realize that he is going to be lonely, and not really lonely, he's going to accompany Anne Hathaway's character. But yeah, I think like he has completed his character arc, and he can actually now rest of all this, like he can dump all these emotions which he longed to for his homecoming. So yeah, I think this particular philosophy or this particular point stuck with me more in Interstellar, and that's the particular point that made me more interested in this film.
No, that's
So
a
yeah,
fair.
I think
That's a very
yeah,
fair argument.
those are
Ashwani, I will let you go first, such just to, uh, just to have like the love fest accumulated, and then the slightly more critical fest, I guess.
Okay, so I'll establish why the Interstellar as a film is important, because
Yeah.
the poignancy lies in in the human condition, in the way that the relationships in this film are explored, and because there are relationships that we form in our life, and relationships are built and lost for a lot of reasons, and in a lot of ways. But the relationship between a parent and a child is subject to time, and those relationships are built in time, and they are lost to time. Every single relationship. So because I mean, of course, people lose each other. But if I am talking about any of my partners, that is not someone that is not a relationship I built in time, because the growth happens later. In a parent-child relationship, the growing is something that you have no control over. You being the child, right? So if you have an absent parent and or a dysfunctional parent, then the relationship is built in a certain way. Or if you have a very loving and very supportive parent, then it is built in a certain way. Right. But every single parent-child relationship is lost in time when you eventually lose the parent. Right. To time. So this is one thing which is being explored in Interstellar, and because it is so much, what happens is that obviously we see this sweet child-parent couple, but then McConaughey's character Cooper becomes absent, right? And then he becomes absent for more than how many? 26 years.
26, 30
when he,
years. Yeah.
In that planet. So 26 years, he is off. Right. So of course it's not explored, but you can feel it, because what essentially is being thrown at you is that all these two children, that Affleck guy and Chesty Murphy and I don't remember, the Tom was his name.
Tom, I think Tom, right?
Tom, yeah.
Tom is the Casey Affleck and Timothy Chalamet.
Exactly. And both of them are now dependent on the early memories that they formed with Cooper, and they have to extract Cooper and keep him alive from the memories. And it's very important to me that way. And this is why I guess After Sun also hit me a lot.
Yeah,
when
you
I
watched it recently, no? Or like
no,
before?
I watched it a few months ago, but then I logged it away recently. This is why it hit me, because it's essentially about this person who is extracting entirety of her father from memories, and that is tragic, and this is why Interstellar is actually one film where, of course, it's people can criticize that unlike Inception, the emotional aspect is not that consistent or seamlessly blend into it. But I feel that it is also because this is first time Nolan is more concerned about the relationship than the plot of Expedition and all. He is much more concerned about these two characters, because he begins with them and he ends with them, and he is always obsessively talking about them. Murphy, Cooper, and it has to be like that. And why do I love Interstellar? Because of course I can watch it again and again and again. Like I can start watching it right now, I can finish and then start watching it again. I love that film this much, much. But somehow the science bros ruined it. in their criticism, because for them rationality.
Ashwani, I'm right here, man.
Congratulations, man. I'm not detached from science. I know that you are doing PhD, but I'm not detached from science. But my point is that the way science people view rationality is something that is very cold and sterile, and it's so detached from human existence. Like, and it's also detached from who we are essentially. You know. And this is, I come from economics discipline, which I switched to after studying science in my early days. Point is, economics is the science in social sciences, and economics is so wrong in everything.
You're the outliers. Please side me बैठिए.
Economics is so wrong in whatever it does, because the entirety of economics discipline in your undergrad days is about rationality, neoliberalism, and treating social human phenomena as fundamental natural laws. You know, the law of demand and law of markets, as if everything works like that. And then that's how somewhere rationality becomes very overrated, and it falls into the binary of masculine, feminine. It falls into every single binary of relationships between people. It starts dictating everything to a point where it does not make any sense. Because even when we talk about our own behavior, 90% of what we decide is not based on facts or the context which we think about and then take into account, and then we decide. 90% of our decisions are heuristics. They are just out of intuition. They are just out of experience. They are out of prejudice and biases. So many things, right? So what objectivity are we talking about? Okay, there are facts that are laid out, and now this is what I was discussing with you about that infamous scene, which is like derided so much. I also don't like it. But my point is,
when Anne Hathaway basically says, voices out the sort of love transcends
exactly. I also don't like it, because I think it's not written in a very subtle way. It's
that
very out of.
I think that could have been written better, honestly. I think the idea is sound. The idea is quite
the
good.
fundamental is not something I have a problem with.
Absolutely. I mean, neither do I, to be very honest.
Because when you actually, I'll put this within the film only, in the universe, when you see Dr. Mann behaving in a certain way, there is a part of you that never criticizes Dr. Mann's actions, because you somehow are able to situate Dr. Mann into his experiences and into the context. But you're not able to situate Dr. Brand in the same context, right?
Interesting you say that, considering I actually think the Dr. Mann character doesn't work for me at all. Like, that's one of my, and I think Amartya's also. We'll get to it, but you can continue. But that's one of the things that I did.
No, but like, I'm not talking about individual, but I'm talking about the general opinion. This is what happened with Interstellar, because that scene, it's so bluntly written.
So you can say, I'm just asking, can you recap? So basically the criticism is centered on the Brand character rather than the man? Okay.
No. My idea is that the criticism is about that particular scene, right?
Okay, the one scene.
It started getting disliked to an extent that a lot of people got prejudiced before they started Interstellar.
Got it.
When they watched Interstellar, the prejudice became confirmed. Like, they are confirming a bias, and that fed into the criticism
discourse,
of Interstellar.
Discourse.
That is why today we have a lot of people who have entirety of problem built into this one scene. They are not so much hating Interstellar for what the plot is or what the science is. They are hating it for that scene.
For what they think.
So they think that it's too like mushy, like just
mushy.
Too like
it's too cheesy for a hard science film. But what is hard science? Are you able to believe the Tesseract being built in the climax?
I mean, the one film I've seen about.
It is basing it on string theory. I'm not saying the Tesseract is a legit thing, but I think more or less the science, people forget something. It's science fiction, right? People forget the fiction part.
Yeah.
All the people were criticizing.
The one hard science film I've seen, I legitimately detested so much. I was like, and it's got like really great reviews. I was like,
don't talk like that about Shakuntala Devi. What is this?
I was just expecting Varun would throw a Bollywood reference and then.
What is a film?
Shakuntala Devi.
I don't know. I am interested to know.
She's the Indian Kip Thorne.
No, she's a mathematician. Yaar,
wrong movie you referenced her on. Mission Mangal bolna tha.
I
Okay,
was thinking when you know what when the flight launched. When the rocket launched, I was just thinking about Mission Mangal and the entire sequence of
You
you
in the
you
when
people
the
should
flight
stop watching movies.
when
I
Puri
that
am
flight
Sabji
launch was happening, you were thinking about Mission Mangal. That's
yes.
exactly.
my favorite scene of the film. I was like, I
Mangal.
can't think
I was
about it like
that
that.
instantly that came up to my mind that Puri Sabzi metaphor Akshay Kumar used in using less oil and like what? I'm like, please get out of my head. That
It was
Akira
either
meme that goes on
It was
in
No,
either
no,
Instagram
Shakuntala
reels
Devi or
right now.
Sprocket Boy, as I like to call it.
I
No,
no,
I
no,
was
but
I was referencing Apollo 11. I think that was the hard science
is it
documentary. I
Ron
think
the Ron Howard movie?
13.
11,
The
13,
documentary.
11 is
11,
the documentary, 13 is
11 is
11.
the
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 doc,
documentary.
the doc I'm talking about,
the
not
1.5 hour
okay.
film. I
Oh,
The
you
really
did not
not
like the
watch
dog.
I
Oh,
hated it. I thought it
okay,
was
okay.
like this is the whole thing where I guess I'll speak and then Amartya and Varun, you guys can also go ahead. My position on this film is that
Listen,
it's an
listen. Me talking about this movie should be last. I am really
okay, fine. You can go last. Varun, you can come
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Anyways, my point is my criticism with it isn't so one of the first note I made was calculated mush. And that's not as much as that sounds like a very harsh criticism. It's not, because I actually think one of the things that the film does really well is lay it out from the very beginning that science and love and like gravity, love, all these things are sort of working in tandem. They are not working as opposites as, I think Nolan is very cognizant.
Opposites like what film bros and science bros
Exactly.
actually
It's
are making without
collapsing
film.
opposites from the get-go. It's not doing it out, like it doesn't reach a point and then says love transcends something, whatever. From the very
I
beginning,
think that's just lazy writing. That love transcends
that
time
one
and
line, which
space.
is fine, it's
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
but
Like, but
it
that's
does transcend time and space, though.
yeah, yeah.
it does. It does, but it's a very Nolan thing of showing it, but then telling it again. Like he does this again and
Because
again. It's
Nolan
not a
knows
new
that
thing,
some of the audiences are dumbest.
But like
which is not
whatever we
untrue.
do as humans is not so much of always survival instinct, but now we have reached a point where we have sort of built a culture in which everything is driven by human values and all the motivations lie in human values.
I
You
think
know,
it's more like Nolan surrendering to the mass. And like,
Hmm.
you win,
You think
guys.
so?
I'll give you a very, I'll give you a
I
I
life
kind of
don't think.
agree. I
which
kind of
will
agree
no,
with
no,
that.
no.
I
I
kind
mean,
of
I don't
agree
think
with that.
so. Okay,
no.
interesting.
I think like this dialogue was more of a
Acha,
log
this
line that
dialogue. Okay, yes. Okay.
yeah, that's what I'm talking. I'm
I
not
I
to
think
think
talking
this
this
about
is
dialogue is
there in
very.
all his movies. I
I
would
think
no,
expect
no,
this
no.
no,
even
no,
in.
I
no.
think
It's
this
because
not the
guys,
dialogue.
you know
dialogue.
what?
I'm talking about the dialogue.
No
It's
matter
like
what you say, Anne
Yeah.
Hathaway was right. Like Dr. Brand was
No,
right.
no, it is. She is right. It's just that
Both,
it's that. Do you need to get her to say this in that manner? Is the other
of
question, I
course,
think.
it's
yeah.
bluntly written. I
Yeah,
started with that, but point
yeah,
was she was now that we are talking science, she said this, but she was actually going by an intuition. Like she
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
felt it, right?
No, but Ashwini, that I think Nolan knows this, and Nolan from the very beginning, the whole ghost thing, the whole idea of the dust falling from the bookcase, all that very much I think signals to this whole collapsing of opposites. It's not just about science; it's about gravity, and it sounds weird when you say it that gravity and love work together. It sounds very condescending, but it is going for that sweet spot where these two forces are meeting together to push us forward in a direction, and it's very hopeful in that way.
It's
It's a
happening only because everything is preordained, at least in the
yeah,
film.
it
Yeah.
is absolutely, and
It's
this is where
working
we'll
because
also
it's working because the paradox is there, right? It's
yeah,
working because
exactly,
it's again like Ashwini said, the movie is like a closed loop anyway.
yeah.
Because most of his movies are
They
kind of yeah.
they are us sort of like, again, all this when you say it out loud, I think it sounds very weighty, portentous, pompous, etc., etc. I feel a lot of this even Terence does, Malik. So
I
again,
was
I
just about to
think
say
these are
Terence Young made these movies, did he? Just to rile Dhruv up a little bit.
Malik
Wait
does
until
this a
dark.
lot also. No, but a lot of the criticisms towards his films are also that they are too romantic. They are too,
They are too
almost.
National Geographic. Forget romantic. They are
I
too
don't think
National
so. That's a wrong criticism. I will disagree to that.
Yikes.
Yeah, but anyways, I shouldn't have brought him up this soon. My point is that I think the science sits a little uneasily. The way the film is made, the science sits uneasily with the romanticism. Like I feel it rubbing against it in a way which doesn't feel.
I think it's the opposite. I think it's the opposite.
As in the love feels okay.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite.
Okay, Varun, go ahead. You can build on.
From the outset, I don't think the two have anything to do with one another and how the film works. Like I feel independently, there is at one point too much science going on in the film. Like you need to convey to your audience and convince them, or at least have a conviction of narrative. But you don't need me to be Kip Thorne himself, because I am.
What's with the Kip Thorne slander for some?
Like, no. I'm not slandering him. Thorne was like
he was there,
essentially an uncredited co-producer.
Yeah.
So
no, he was credited as an executive producer.
Is he?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're doing then is making it challenging for me to follow the film, but fine, I'll do that. On the other hand, when you bring in this strong sort of the emotional core that is very much a part of or an echo of mid-Hollywood romantic dramas in whatever way, like even the parenting or parent-child dramas, they jostle for space. They're not able to coexist. I think that
jostle for
balance,
space. I mean,
Varun was thinking the most perfect line in all this. Like, listening to the conversation and how will I, drop this on them so that they cannot pull themselves out of the weight. Weight of the criticism.
They're caught in a limbo. So I feel like, that is one problem. And also, after a point, the film is just too much.
When is that point?
I think the Casey Affleck character, even the small bits with him, see, ultimately in a form-like film, it's not like a book where you'll never read a book and say it's 10 chapters too many. You'll specify points. Similar to that, in a film, you're like, iska agar tum 5 minute bhi cut doge na, the film is better. And Casey Affleck, okay, I'm not convinced by him as an actor to begin with.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
Not even in the movies in
Manchester.
which he's depressed?
You haven't seen Manchester, no?
I've not watched Manchester.
Okay.
So I'll reserve comment on that, on his skills. But here he's clearly not very
saddled with a really underwritten character. Though,
it's a bad part. I mean, even it's an afterthought even when Timothée Chalamet is playing the character.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's not as if the son has anything to do in the film. He is just, he exists to tell you, okay, society is going to be an aptitude-based
he exists also to be the moron and the conflict in the Earth section, I feel, towards the latter stage.
Which is weird if you think about it, because that is one of the most nothing conflicts ever. You could have removed that entire thing and you could have just put Murph there, or thinking and everything. The entire scene would have worked without the conflict.
No, and you're stacking your cast with so many players. Ultimately, then that's going to prove your undoing. You either drop Damon, which to my mind would be a problem in the film, simply because he gives you an added amount of complexity. That this is a man who is, and because they are on a greater mission, right? McConaughey and Hathaway's character. But Damon's character is purely interested in his own survival. He's not interested about.
I feel his part is paralleled during the time where all the betrayals are happening, right? Right. That's when Matt Damon's character also happens. So I feel he's very much like a parallel of what's that guy's face? Michael Caine. I should call him poet, basically, poet scientist. Again, another collapsing of.
Oh no! If you read the history of Renaissance, all scientists were poets.
So Mr. Caine, who can basically, who does a lot of.
Sir Michael boliye sir.
Sorry, Sir Michael Caine, who does a great job. I think.
Dr. Brand
Whatever. Like I think he does a great job in general in Nolan films of doing with some pretty shoddily written dialogue sometimes. I think he comes across pretty well in this also.
He's the gravitas-laden exposition machine.
Kind of. Just
And I
right
also
side.
felt like the film.
Or in other words, he's the catalyst.
But like, interestingly, he's like very consistently a part of Nolan's cast and crew, because Nolan is, people don't realize, but Nolan has often, this friendship ended with this person, now this is my best friend. Like Julian ke baad Hans Zimmer's friendship ended after
Now Ludwig
Prestige,
Göransson.
now Hans Zimmer is my best friend.
Thanks to the memes.
Yeah, and following mein jo lead tha, that is playing a side character, the plumber
In
guy
Tenet.
in
Tenet.
Begins, not Tenet. So I was
No,
like,
he was there in
Tenet में
Tenet.
plumber
But
है.
वो professional
No,
वो professional
no, he
actor
was
ही नहीं.
water
when
supply में officer होता है, but I'm
नहीं
thinking
when John
this
David
was
Washington goes to meet Michael Caine,
Yes,
the
yes.
secretary is the guy from Following.
Oh
following.
wow.
So I am
Jeremy
thinking,
Pickford is not a professional
when you
actor.
were making a student film, when this guy was with you in your struggle days, and when you get a WB contract, you just make him a वो क्या बोलते हैं plumbing guy.
Yeah, because WB also has some say, right? They're like, इसको नहीं ले सकते हम. कौन है?
ये कौन है?
I'm sure. Both
No,
the
it's
actors
like
were-
it's like J.J. Abrams always using Greg Grunberg in everything, right? That's literally how it is. If you are going up, you will use your best friends.
Anyway, point being that Michael Caine is very good as an actor. I
Yeah,
guess.
and
Sir
he's not in
Michael Caine,
Oppenheimer,
sorry.
so maybe friendship is broken finally.
I think
No,
Michael
he
Caine's
retired,
journey
no?
with Nolan
No,
started with Batman Begins.
अच्छा, okay. Interstellar पे जाओ वापस, please.
So yeah, Interstellar, I think, is a fantastic film in most respects. I don't even have like complaints, except that I feel like in his bid, somewhere it's about Nolan saying, you know what, I can bloody well make an emotional movie. And then I'm like,
I can make a Spielberg movie. To be very
no, it's
exact.
not even Spielberg, because it goes beyond that. It just becomes, with Spielberg, I've never found it to be that overwhelming.
Yes.
I think the emotion is more similar to Terrence Malick.
Chashni,
I think
Dhruv
so.
said.
Gulab
It's
Jamun
more
ke sath chashni jo aati hai, it was that situation.
because Spielberg's emotions, they're more commercial, they're more mainstream.
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
more
ये भी तो
Americana.
mainstream ही है.
They're more
नहीं,
Americana.
इंटरस्टेलर का भी काफी मेन स्ट्रीम है, बट उसका भी एक पोएटिक टच है, as Michael Caine का character kicks in. It gives a kind of a Terrence Malick touch to
I
it.
think that way in Bridge of Spies, if you want to say like what Amartya is saying, Americana, that way Mark Rylance serves the same point in Bridge of Spies. He is that poetic.
So, but you kind of think then, I guess one of the problems then might be because we are mentioning different directors. I think because I think Malick and Spielberg are fairly different directors.
Very different.
Yeah, so I think I feel in many ways that kind of also explains where the sentimentality of Interstellar might not work for some of us, because it kind of falls in between those two. And it's not an easy
between, and it's trying to do too much, because see,
it's trying to jostle for space.
No, see, it's also the fact is that the Ashwani really spoke quite well on the parent-child emotion relationship, but it is essentially a universal emotion. It's a universal relationship, except for like orphans like Bruce Wayne. But
that's the thing, right? That's the absence.
Yeah. So there's still that, and you just want to say, you know what, I get it. I get both of their points of view. You don't need to keep going. But he's like, no, I can do more. Watch me push this throttle beyond 100, and it gets overwhelming.
Why are you sounding like Fast and Furious?
Family.
I want him to make a Fast and Furious film. That I'll watch.
After
he can make.
After Tenet.
He'll make it incomprehensible, which is good for that franchise.
That franchise is anyway incomprehensible.
Yeah, exactly. Go, Amartya, go ahead. We are quite over time, so I'm just saying, go for it.
I mean, I was joking. If anybody can realize, I was joking a lot in this section because I was dreading to talk about this.
Yeah.
I genuinely, whatever problems I have with this movie is, I think all of them have mostly been voiced. It's like, it's that blunt writing, or I get the idea, I get all the tonalities and all what Nolan is trying to express. And I also get the fact that, rationality of science cannot exist in a real world, which is also coexisting with emotionality. They both need a balance in a way. They both need to coexist equally.
Yeah.
Because
can I just ask, is this sort of what Solaris is also about, or no?
Sort of, but I think Solaris has a skewed balance over there, in which the emotion is also shown in a very cold fashion.
Okay, got
No,
it.
because Solaris is more about sentience and less about emotion is there, but emotion is
it's like looking at life it's like looking at life objectively is what I took from it.
Okay, then I feel Interstellar skews a fair bit towards Malick.
I think Ad Astra and Arrival derives more from Solaris than Interstellar.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Ad Astra is like full on space opera, though, I feel.
Yeah.
It is more like that.
Yeah, it's not science at all, actually. I feel it's full emotion, which is why I kind of like it.
So,
even Solaris is not all about science.
Oh, come on, it's Apocalypse Now in space. Anyway, so the thing about it is that whatever happens in this, the fact that Interstellar is Nolan at his most hopeful, Interstellar is Nolan evoking Spielberg, Nolan evoking Star Trek. There are so many Star Trek references in this. I can't even begin to tell you how many Star Trek references are in this. And it makes sense because Star Trek is about a optimistic future. And Interstellar is about battling for a future, battling or searching for a future of survival without battling. It's searching. It's searching. Searching for it means inspiring for a future. And that's what Star Trek has always been, aspiring for a better future. So, in a way, this is Nolan talking about Star Trek. Nolan is also talking about, I think Nolan is aesthetically referencing Kubrick because his definition of hard science is very much inspired by Kubrick's own researches.
What's the new name of the cube in this, or block, sorry? Case and
Tars and Case.
Yes. So that's the block is, I think block is the monolith reference.
Yes.
From
that's
2001.
why all of the entire structure is based on the monolith.
Yeah.
And as well as the space station, which is the entire docking sequence. That entire space station is based on Kubrick's that space station in Kubrick's 2000. So I can understand the aesthetic, and of course there is the Spielberg element of even within the vastness of space and the largesse of science, human emotions will always coexist because science ultimately is controlled, or science ultimately is utilized under the hands of humans. So emotions will always play a part. And before we tell that Spielberg is such a great filmmaker, Spielberg also has this fault of being unable to balance emotion as well as hard science. E.T. is one of the bigger examples of that. I think E.T. is way too emotional for some cases. So it's not Nolan's quote unquote fault per se. I just think that Nolan using emotion or using a 4-dimensional or a 5th-dimensional or a 10th-dimensional structure as a conduit for him to connect with his daughter is a beautiful thing. Because it's like you're transcending time and space and everything. And what affected me more was that seeing Cooper looking at video conferences or video diaries of his daughter, talking about it for so many years and talking about all of that. Cooper's reactions didn't break me. What broke me was, the fact that a daughter is essentially writing about her own fears or her own feelings to a father or to a parent who is not there. Because she's looking for the one support which had been there for so long and now it's not there. That is a loss which cannot be completely evoked or defined, I believe, unless you have experienced it. And that's why the other side of it, more than Cooper's reaction, the other side, how Chastain's character Murph's reaction, how it is referencing, that hurts me more. That affects me more. And that is like...
But just to interject, and sorry, I know it's going from a personal to a sort of more of a filmic point of view I'm talking about, but I think those scenes are handled also really beautifully.
It's handled really well. The decision to just focus on Cooper's face while the voiceover is going on is it's a beautiful decision to take. And that is why even though Casey Affleck's Tom is being shown as somebody who is to put it mildly, a tad bit more moronic or whatever.
Mm.
I think his character is shaped by something more poignant. Is that after his father goes away, he's the first person who thinks that he should be he should he should give up
Mm.
because he has to live his life.
Mhm.
And this is something I learned very recently. If you are going to
Mm.
voice decisions like that, right,
Mhm.
that gives you more closure
Mm.
than getting angry and putting it inside yourself and just twisting on it and just
Yeah.
ruminating on it.
Yeah.
That doesn't give you closure. That just, the pain just carries with you. I think
Yeah.
for Morph, the pain is even more there.
Yeah. I feel what you're talking about kind of is, or maybe finds, it's sort of the central point of something like Ad Astra for me, which is why I keep on referencing that film.
Yes.
Like that is what, like, the emotional resonance of that always hits me, because it's so emotionally driven. Like, it's totally
It's
headlong
totally
into.
emotionally driven.
Yeah.
But it's that,
So
and so I understand, right? Whatever the flaws I have with this movie, the fact that Nolan hits upon it, and Nolan is like unabashedly hitting upon it. That is just, I don't know, that is admirable to a.
no, it is very admirable, I
It's
think.
admirable to a heartening degree. It is admirable.
Yeah. So sorry, Ashwini, any comments, thoughts? I don't know. I don't even think we were harsh at all on Interstellar, to be very honest. I think all of
I
us.
expected Amartya to be harsher.
No. I expected myself to be a little harsher. But actually, I think what I expressed to Ashwini also was like, it's not very much a film in which I can say these things are not working. It's more just that I don't feel, or I don't connect with certain things.
I think it's more like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I think it's more like, it's not that these things are not working. I think at this point it's a testament to all of our filmmaking watches and filmmaking journeys, in a way that all of us have now different motivations and different perspectives on how to watch film or how to think about films. For me, genuinely, I think that sometimes when I can imagine an emotion working or repeating something which had already been done, especially in a genre movie, especially in a movie set to a specific genre, one of my prevalent instincts at this moment is to remove the redundancy. I genuinely think that Damon's, how do I say this? Damon's subplot that is supposed to be about cynicism, right? That is cynicism, more than cynicism. That is like disillusionment. Disillusionment from the real future, from the aspiring future which had been teased, because it's a dream, right? So it's like, wow, connecting to Interstellar. It's like
Nice.
waking up from the dream, right?
Yeah.
But waking up from the dream in a far more harsher manner.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that the waking up from the dream in a harsher manner was already done when they actually circled around the planet and they lost 7 years of time, and Cooper had an emotional
too many,
arc
you think,
to
like extra conflicts, extra sort of
extra
padding
conflict.
sort of.
Now there can be a different argument that you don't want to remove that entire scene because you actually need a more human connection, and that's why another human element should be there. Okay, that's good enough. I can understand, put Damon's character in, then try to streamline it. Cut some of the flab out.
No, it does feel it does, as we've also, I think Amartya and me were sort of discussing a little bit. The cross-cutting also in Interstellar feels slightly weaker to me than his earlier films, just because the elements that are being cross-cut are sort of feel tertiary.
Because this is a more personal element for me, that if I remove Damon's character, I will completely miss that extraordinary sequence of Damon trying to do the docking sequence, and when the docking fails, the music cuts.
Yes, that's a very great moment.
Fantastic, that sequence.
Moment which is repeated in Tenet, actually, in a fairly effective manner, I think. Not with the same sort of impact, but it is there. I will mention it.
The music.
I was thinking that about this reconciliation and why the reconciliation is not happening in Interstellar so much as it has happened for Spielberg or Kubrick. Because Kubrick did not had I don't know, it was his approach, which was very radically political, but it was like in 2001, it is actually science fiction because it's based on fiction. I guess Arthur C. Clarke wrote the novel on which it is based and all.
The novel came later.
But like he was the consultant and he wrote the novel.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and then again, Spielberg is more driven by the human emotions. So because it's familial, it's relationships which are happening in different plots. But Interstellar is theoretical. I wouldn't call it science fiction so much as I would call it theoretical, because it is based on mathematical possibilities. And mathematics does not have an equation to explain human relationships. It can explain the language of the universe, it can explain the entire existence, but what it is not able to explain is the human relationship. That is where
is the unquantifiable.
Exactly.
Human relationships are unquantifiable. That is the one thing.
Why reconciliation has never been a concern for me more than now more than ever is because after learning the development of science itself, like what do we mean by science and this movement, the Renaissance and the scientific revolution, because scientific revolution happened as a response to religion. Religion guided human existence, science questioned it, and then a lot of people, philosophers and thinkers, went into the idea that what is reality and how do we perceive it. And then they came to rationality. So while some people were describing rationality as an accessible reality, some were saying that rationality is in the head. Descartes said that. So like you build your own rationality and you reach this thesis, and that you reach levels of perception to reach an ultimate answer. So
it's questioning and questioning and questioning. Right?
Exactly. So in that way, I'm thinking that reconciliation of thoughts is not so much of a problem for me. Because human reality is already situated in a reality of what we call science, but then essentially all of our efforts, all of our motivations are subjective. Even our observations are they are not occurring in a realm of objectivity as much as they are occurring in the realm of subjectivity. Because ultimately our own explanations about our universe are for us. They are not going to exist for the star out there. It's for our civilization. So I never thought in those terms. Now I'm saying my argument now is more reformed after learning a lot. When I loved Interstellar, it was not about these things. It was just I loved Interstellar. So
but that happens. I think that's the. I think that's the mark of.
Your explanation is also kind of prevalent for criticism itself, right? Any sort of criticism. It's like everybody is saying quantify a criticism or quantify any sort of explanation into star marks or whatever the flying fox. But the thing about it is that at the end of the day, criticism is your perspective, right? You
exactly.
liking it, you disliking it. The most you can give is context. Context you can give or whatever, but at the end of the day, what you feel about the movie and what you felt while watching the movie is entirely dependent on you. And that's what you're trying to prove. That's what you're trying to give.
But one criticism I do agree with, I mean, I don't know, I can live with the criticism because I think it's the truth, even though it's not my criticism, is that I remember talking about this, and one person I know, a friend who does not like it because he thinks that Nolan essentially abuses time. And when he's abusing time, he's sort of abusing the human condition pertaining to love and all, which he's not understanding in their full capacity. So it's
abusing
like
time. Interesting.
Abusing, not using.
Abusing.
Because like his criticism, I could be misquoting a lot, but I remember that his point was that he does not like the way Nolan treats human relationship because he is not understand what love is.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, that is one criticism I am really fine with, because even
but it's supremely subjective as a criticism also, right? Of course.
And it's not informed criticism.
I would say
essentially basing it off his films, whether or not he understands love. And maybe love is not required to be a part of his cinema up until Interstellar.
I mean, he himself says that he is most interested in filmmaking mechanics. Like, that's what he says. I don't think that's true.
I think that's also a function of, while it's a function of time in terms of linearity and whatnot, I think it's also a function of the manner in which the relationship works, right? A parent's love for their child will evolve or shift in very drastic situations. A child's love for their parent, however, is continually evolving, because probably now, like, in your early 20s is when you start viewing your parents as people in their own right. And not just as your parents. Before that, you're like, you're my parent. What other function do you have in life?
They are on a pedestal. They are people.
Not even a pedestal. They have one function. I'm saying remove the pedestal also. They have one function. Now
like they exist. Like they just exist.
So I think in my 20s, or maybe in my late teens, when I moved away from home, is when I started to view my parents also as being somebody's kids, as being somebody's siblings, as being partners to each other, as being my parents, as being somebody's friends and individuals, of course. So I think in that sense also is what sort of, which is why the complexity of affection in Interstellar comes in. For Murph, that emotion is still very complex, whereas for
I
Cooper,
almost think it
it's
would be an
essentially
even better. I mean, because there is, I mean, this is, I guess, again, a matter, a function of time in many senses. But like towards the end, where you have a role reversal, I thought if that probably had been there for a slightly longer period. I know that kind of the cut shorting itself has an effect, of course, because there is no more time to actually spend for these two people. But the role reversal of a child becoming the parent, like the child becoming the parent figure, and it also follows linearly though, right? Like that also happens when people become old.
The evolution of the children, evolution of a child and a parent's relationship finally reaches an end point when a child loses a parent, because at the end of the day, parents, once that happens, parents become the ghosts.
Yes, which is a recurring thing in Interstellar. Yes,
So at the end of the day, when Cooper finally meets his daughter, he's stuck in amber, and right now he's a man out of time. He's the ghost she is pleased to see, but he's the ghost she has also accepted.
I think it's like, again, I think this sort of, and we'll move on finally, because we have basically, I'll die editing this episode, I think. But
move on to what though?
Because
I think we have discussed Tenet.
We have discussed Tenet enough.
तो वही Tenet में बस one liner for all of you. What do you think?
I had things to say about Tenet.
We'll talk about it. I was saying what Amartya was talking about. I feel this is the thing which the whole Inception Interstellar to me thing works better, because I think Interstellar is of course much more of the ambitious film, but I feel there was a streamlined nature to all the supporting characters in Inception, which served the film very well. I feel here he's paralleling a lot of it with the Amelia character. I feel like Amelia Brandt character, like because Cooper himself is a man of science in the beginning, right? He's the one who almost needs to be convinced about other things that exist beyond leaving. Like, again, it's his discovery of stay. Exactly. His discovery is that the word was stay, right? In many senses. And then this whole idea of, I think this extends, and I mean, I feel, I hate to say this, but like I feel the whole film feels a little bulky, like in its sense. Like it just feels like it's got like this external weight attached to it, even though, streamlining, as Amartya was saying, would probably be something that I would be more receptive to. But again, I can totally understand why, if someone connects with this emotionally throughout and out, I can totally see why this is such an impactful film. But as we've also mentioned, and Ashwani was saying, Arrival, I think, is the sort of refined almost version of this for me.
Almost
like
refined,
that works. That works for me more. And I've always connected with that film.
I mean, it's just subtle in Arrival, because Arrival also have this very mushy thing, because the entire motive of people, the higher civilization coming was to unify the humanity. Bringing communists and capitalists together.
It's very Contact. Have you seen Contact, the Robert Zemeckis film? That I think that has a big influence on Arrival. So I think that's a similar. So yeah, you're right. Actually, it's very mushy, but I think it's got an element of sacrifice maybe that hit me harder in Arrival than it did in this. So, but I get what you mean.
Cost.
But
and Villeneuve, I think, is just a more this is not a criticism of Nolan per se, but it's Villeneuve is more has a slightly colder edge, I felt, in Arrival as a director, which I think works for that movie because, as you said, it's a mushy movie, right? At its core, but his aesthetic sort of
aesthetics,
balances it out almost.
But I love the the sentimentality of Arrival, like the idea of choosing and embracing your present reality is the most profound idea that people have to.
No, it's a bloody good film. I need to rewatch it. I've seen it so long before,
but now that we are plugging in, I should mention Warning from Space, because Warning from Space is a very old Japanese film which inspired Kubrick to make 2001.
Oh wow!
But
Kubrick, if people want to watch like space horror, then you can watch 2001
of
But
but
2001 is a lot of things. It's not just space horror; it's a lot of things.
No, I think it's pure unadulterated horror, unadulterated horror film. I saw it in the cinema, and I was like, okay, this is
another. I think space horror. Then that way, First Man also in some senses.
I know a lot of people really love.
But now we are mentioning space horror, then I would definitely mention Last and First Man. Not exactly.
Johan Johansson.
Beautiful movie. Beautiful movie.
I have thoughts on that.
The film is a warning.
Exactly. It's especially prescient now that AI is here. AI is here.
Varun, watch it. I want to know whose side you are on, because I don't think that movie is very good.
I didn't catch it.
Last and First
Man. Okay.
Yeah. It's very experimental. It's got Tilda Swinton as computer woman or some woman.
She's voicing.
But Johan Johansson is like highlight.
Yeah.
This is after it released after his passing, right?
Gone too soon. But
made one great film, and of course a lot of great scores.
That Sicario score is like literally
that Denis Villeneuve episode might be coming if we want to do it minus Dune. But
I'm not talking about Dune.
No, before that only. Good stuff.
Dune is basically America invading Afghanistan or Iraq.
Yikes.
Oh yeah, but it's done better in other movies and in real life.
Because novel came before the invasion, so it can be anything.
No, so here's the funny thing: Herbert's novels came out in the 60s or 70s, right? In the 50s, the British and the Americans did not want Iran to become a republic because they were going to nationalize oil. And that would have cut off their oil supplies. So they essentially triggered conservative revolutions in those countries.
But this is going to subvert it, no? Dune Part 2.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But as far as I understand, like you rightly said, the Dune is based on this whatever the imperial countries did with the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
And it's really ironical and funny that they kept doing it, because now Afghanistan ka bhi metaphor hai Dune, which happened after it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Afghanistan, you could even call it a parallel to Pakistan.
Tell me this though, how do I transition from this to Tenet?
That Dune bhi nahi dekhni chahiye or Tenet bhi nahi.
Yeah. There you go.
I think Dune is better.
You can't compare the two, but Dune is better.
Yeah. Anyways, to Tenet, briefly, guys.
Dune has a coherent plot.
Dune has a plot.
Yeah, it has a plot.
Tenet briefly, guys. Briefly.
I think Tenet is under the baggage that a lot of MI films, James Bond films, Bond films have come before it. So what can threaten the world? Like Nolan is sitting in his room and thinking, what challenge should I write that will actually feel menacing to the audience, because they have seen it every time some gadget or some virus is threatening the world and this protagonist is saving it. Now let me reverse the thermodynamic principle, and I think in principle that is brilliant idea.
Yeah, in principle.
In principle, that is a brilliant idea. What he could not do is that I think he was not able to make it threatening for the audience. Like in principle, it is a threatening idea, but I was not feeling threatened because I could not understand it much.
I think he can't filter out the scientific research he's done.
For a person who has done so much of scientific research, I don't think he completely understood his own fictionalization of the science itself. That's the bigger problem here.
Like if you reverse entropy, I understand what you mean. I left science after 12, but I understand what you mean. But how does this pose a challenge to the world in your universe?
Because this guy is going to like what's the whole
implode.
Can we not discuss the plot? Because I'm going to take half an hour to like
I realized Ashwani that Tenet is basically Shane Carruth का primer. ठीक है?
वो कौन सी आसान है समझने के लिए?
उसका जो plot है.
That is very condescending film though. Primer is one condescending film.
I love
that film, by the way.
You have non-science students though, no? Like, I mean, I left science, Ashwani left science, Varun, you have also left science.
I'm not discounting.
I left science in 10th.
It's not about leaving science because ultimately Primer was made by someone who did his PhD in maths.
That's
ultimately a movie is not supposed to look down on you just because you don't know a subject, right?
Of course.
That's the whole point.
Yes.
And it's like I get it, I understand that you're using Feynman's principle that an electron if taken to another charge is basically a positron. I get it. So you are taking the other charge of the black box and you're putting it in turnstile. You're putting
you sound exactly like a Tenet character.
Wait, let me finish.
You feel it, Dhruv. You feel it.
You feel it. Yeah.
I had a headache, so yeah, I did.
So turnstile, you put all of that stuff, and then the big question which Ashwani tells is exactly the point. I get all of it.
Yeah.
I get all of it. I am the science student. I'm getting all of it. Give me the fucking stakes, man. Where's the stakes?
I mean, the stakes are that the world is going to blow up, no? Because
it was not because it can't blow up. It was implosion, if at all. But they don't say it. They say it's more threatening than a third nuclear war. Oh, sorry, मतलब a nuclear war.
So show me that, na? That's the
whole
show.
नहीं वही तो conflict है, वही तो रोकना है, वही रुकता है ना end में.
No, but demonstrate in some way. Like in Angels and Demons, they say कि antimatter का bomb है, it will explode.
Yeah.
Right.
Demonstrated in some way. Look, hold on. एक चीज बताता हूँ. There is a closed loop. We are putting. Since Nolan is the one confusing us, let us confuse ourselves. It is like, this is a closed loop, right?
Yeah.
Everything that is happening, every portent and everything, all exists within the closed loop. My point is, if you are putting everything in the closed loop, how can people understand anything?
Yeah.
If everything is supposed to happen already.
Yeah.
Why should people care?
That's the same, but it's similar in Interstellar, no?
The threat was, it will undo the existence. But okay. But how?
Somehow.
I think Nolan also forgot that he's living in a world where if you tell youngsters
he's living in a twilight world.
No, he's living in a world where if you tell people our age today, दुनिया कल खत्म हो जाएगी, we'll be like, हाँ, very good, सही है, मेरे को कुछ करना है. We don't care enough. This
was also, exactly. This was my problem with Tenet, that if you tell me that these are the stakes, it is not a stake worth fighting for, because if the entire world is going to undo the existence, it does not, because it's like if you come back to zero, it's indifference, it's like unexisting. So it is not a threat. It's not a threat.
It's
human reality is not getting destroyed, it's getting reversed. So to a point where reality won't exist, now it's not a threat. The threat exactly is इससे ज़्यादा potent threat तो वो था कि Thanos आके 50% उड़ा देगा.
50% उड़ा देगा. अरे
because 50% रोएंगे बैठ के.
No, but the idea if reality, fuck, I can't believe we are going into this. If reality doesn't exist now though, but that's the whole thing, no? That's the whole thing they try to establish with Debicki's character with the whole including my son bit.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he will also not exist, I will not exist. So like,
हाँ,
अरे
तो जब
भाई तो
कोई
मुझे
एग्जिस्ट
क्या
ही नहीं कर रहा है
अरे
तो
भाई
नहीं
तो
तो but
मुझे क्या अरे
उसी
भाई
को तो
तो
स्टॉप
मुझे
करना
क्या
चाहते हैं वो लोग.
नो
तो
बट
मुझे
माय
क्या
पॉइंट इज ध्रुव कि अगर कोई एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं कर रहा है तो कोई रो नहीं रहा है. अगर कोई रो नहीं रहा है
हाँ,
तो देयर इज नो पेन, देयर इज नो
there's no
सफरिंग, देयर इज
feeling.
नथिंग, देयर इज नथिंग.
Exactly.
देयर
हाँ
इज नो
but
ह्यूमन
but
इमोशन
I
नथिंग
think
तो
but I
मारे
think the
तो क्या
idea
That
no,
is
but the
what-
idea is that they want the present thing to go on. No, I don't think they want that to not be the case is what my point
you
is.
know you
It's
know what could have helped this movie if
So
you
Not
two,
remove
releasing
three
the
it.
drafts, revisions.
yeah 3 drafts revision if you remove the entire temporal pincer movie
That is the main thing.
you remove
That's the
it
main thing.
But
you
you know
remove it
that's the sign of a good filmmaker. No, you drop anything that's a if you drop a gimmick and you see if the script is still standing straight, then
पर
you're like,
उसके
okay, I
बिना
can.
तो पूरा उसका जो भी what you're talking about idea तो सभी then there's nothing. It's a basic Bond film
नहीं
without the.
हाँ
Then
तो
make a
बेसिक
basic
बॉन्ड
Bond
फिल्म
film.
क्या है
Make-
नो
It's
बट लो
ये
Nolan
तो
का
बॉन्ड
है.
का ऑडिशन ही है ये तो बॉन्ड का ऑडिशन टेप ही है बे
वो
Yeah, you know
Inception
what?
था.
It can
No,
stay
no,
this
no,
film.
no.
It can be about reverse entropy, but
Yeah.
what it has to do is that they have to be selective with the danger it poses. So they
Yes.
don't have to say कि existence will be undone. They can say that some bad guy will use this to undo certain something about the reality, which will be more threatening.
अरे if we are talking about science ठीक है if we are talking about science if we are talking about time चलो एक काम करता हूँ एक विलेन को कहता हूँ रिवर्स एंट्रोपी करके I will repeat Chernobyl
Okay.
just a thought I'll repeat
Mhm.
Chernobyl quantifiable threat है
Yeah.
if I repeat Chernobyl फिर से न्यूक्लियर होलोकॉस्ट का एक सिचुएशन होगा जो भी हो countless lives will be lost that is a threat
I mean, a comprehensible threat.
comprehensible
or
threat
like because
So you
gone
think
with
it's
a-
too abstract as a
Yeah,
concept
it is
only?
because they
It's
just
too-
say once कि it is
Okay.
much
it's
more dangerous
undefinable
than
nonsense that's
third.
No,
what
it's just
Okay.
too large, right? If it
Okay.
like Ashwani said, if it impacts everyone, it's not a tragedy. Everyone goes. Okay,
it's that
we live
syndrome
with that.
Sure.
it's a syndrome disease
But
right?
what about
If
Elizabeth
everybody-
Debicki's child?
if everybody becomes a
अरे nobody
superhero मेरे
cares
लिए
यार अगर वो नहीं रहेगी तो
I
बचेगा
know.
क्या?
I'm asking because of the film. Yeah.
if everybody becomes a superhero nobody does right it's a
Yeah.
syndrome thing in Incredibles.
Everybody is the same.
yeah
No, or like Amartya pointed out, if you say, you know what, the Russian Federation collapses, and again a new second coming of the USSR happens.
Okay.
So another
Because we have,
Another
or let's
missile
say
strike.
the villain is Russian, so he will do the Soviet thing again. He'll build
हाँ,
the
हाँ.
Soviet.
Yeah,
Now
pretty
that poses a challenge to American Empire. Oh shit, we'll have Soviet
yeah क्योंकि
civilization.
और भी क्योंकि फिर से वही चाहिए क्योंकि इंडियाना जोन्स तो वही कर रहा है ना फिर से नाजी जर्मनी को बनाना चाहता है
But you know what? It also does not work because I think John David Washington gives a
He's a
very
bad
poor
actor.
act.
I don't.
No,
so
no,
I'm
no,
It
not
didn't have
on,
anything to do.
I'm not on the train of the John David Washington is just a charisma-less actor. I've heard Sanjeet say this 15 times to me, and I've like
But he
disagreed
was
with
good
him.
in Black Klansman.
I think he's decent in this, but like क्या करेगा बेचारा
But
actor
there's no
इसमें इसके
character.
अलावा?
The only person
Yeah,
with the
but-
character is Debicki.
Pattinson
there is no
had a
character
lot of
there is no
charm.
character
Pattinson
character
actually, that's
development.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Pattinson
He
does
had a
bring
lot of charm.
more.
But
to
that's
it,
the
yes.
character. Neil is
Yeah,
supposed
he
to be
actor.
Hey,
नहीं,
कहाँ
supposed
है
to be
Neil
charming.
is supposed to be
Boss,
charming.
they are
There is
supposed to have
there
like a
is nowhere-
charming. They're supposed to
there
have
is
a
nowhere
romance,
it is
and I was
written
like,
that Neil is supposed to be charming.
I was
ठीक
like,
है?
what
He's
is the
supposed to be
romance here?
isn't he? I felt it when I watched the film.
Okay.
He's supposed to be the slightly, off kind of supporting player. In a
No,
sense.
no, but that's what you are thinking. But that's how these suppositions coming because that is
Yeah.
what Nolan playing in the genre of the spy thriller or
Huh.
whatever the F.
The funny
Okay.
side.
Dimple
He's
Kapadia is
short
pretty
round.
good in this. I was like, this is one of the few
Yeah.
Indian performances where I have not been like cringing while
Irfan
they're
and
speaking.
Amrish Puri set the bar too high.
No,
ये नहीं चलेगा.
no. I mean, in this type of film, you have Anil Kapoor in
Irfan
MI4. Okay.
Yeah,
Irfan in
so-
Life of Pi or Irfan in Inferno?
Irfan in
I've
anything.
heard he's both. I've heard he's the best part of Inferno, by the way.
Yes, he
Even
is.
though the film is
You would
pretty
have, Dhruv, you would not have hated Dr. Man so much if it was played by Irfan.
Exactly.
Yes, I wouldn't have. I anyways I've never been a big Damon fan. So
What are you
it's-
saying?
Yeah.
Problem with Tenet is John David Washington does not know how to elevate.
Problem in Tenet is
Like if
neither
you-
Irfan nor Manoj Bajpayee.
if you put DiCaprio there, or if you put Tom Cruise in that role,
You put
okay,
Pattinson
Tom
in that
Cruise,
role.
like,
I
But
think
put
this was
Pattinson
he
in
was
that
he was
role,
choosing
huh?
his actor because of the criticism, I suppose, of
not having
yep.
black people.
maybe.
Okay, well,
Are be
anyway,
like Wes
Nolan was
Anderson, be
not
like
so
Wes
much
Anderson
diverse.
and say fuck off. Be like Wes Anderson.
Why he had Jeffrey Wright?
He's
Wes
had
One black
Anderson
character.
has been very diverse.
Amazing
Like,
black character though.
no.
No,
Wes
and also,
Anderson
I
has
mean,
amazing diversity in his
Huh?
cast. What are we talking about?
even
Why are we going to Wes Anderson? Why are we not on
Oh
Tenet?
yeah, okay, fine,
Like,
Because
for his-
Wes
for-
Anderson has very sophisticated set pieces, which Tenet does not have. So like,
No, but Tenet has good action set pieces, just to give
Tenet
it
has
credit.
fantastic action set pieces. He
And has a
some
great
pieces-
score for my.
when Dark
हाँ,
Knight
Yeah,
को
yeah.
कितना सब याद रहता है, Tenet का
Yes,
कहाँ
भाई
याद रहता
डार्क नाइट का जो शिकागो का वो अंडरपास का जो सीन है
Yeah.
For that, you can listen to episode 2.
Yes.
Tenet. I need to finish this podcast.
Tenet, I think Tenet should have been one of the things it would have benefited from is a much shorter runtime.
No,
It should have
Tenet-
been his shortest film if he had done the typical Hollywood thing of I'll make a 90-minute action movie.
इससे क्या expect कर रहे हो, sir?
No,
And
it would have been a
Tenet is-
fantastic film. You wouldn't have
120 also
you
would have worked.
time.
Like,
You wouldn't have had time only कि क्या चल रहा है. Done.
but
And
like,
for-
no, I get it. Like, if it was James Bond film, it would have worked.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
would
he's a
have
good
been-
director. Like, I mean, again, he's a very solid. Like, I think his
Also-
industrial
also-
aesthetics
also
work
petition,
quite well.
Also petition for next James Bond director to be Christopher Nolan. Please, for the love of God.
क्यों हो गया ना, 2 तो
ये
बना ली
बहुत time से
उसने.
हो रहा है.
Inception बना ली,
अब-
Tenet बना ली, हो गया बस.
We have
What
to
I
go
am
back to
interested
British
for
directors
Nolan-
making James Bond.
Nolan
Yes.
to do is that
no.
either make a horror film, out and out genre horror, or make
yes.
an animated film.
He'll
Like,
be good. He'll be
just-
good at cold horror. I actually
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Like
If he
he
doesn't-
can do wonders. Like he can
Or a
redefine the
musical.
genre.
Or a musical.
I want filmmakers to break the mold that they can only do.
But he's broken the mold enough. कुछ molds you shouldn't break. I think.
कहाँ
No, but
mold
like
break
this
किया?
is like he has done it. Like I think he has done pretty redefining stuff, but he has
Of
to
course.
do something in horror.
Horror में कर लेगा, but वो but
But
musical.
see, everybody
Christopher
said
Nolan.
Spielberg could
Bhai,
not do it.
Bhai, Spielberg we
people
thought
watched
could
West
not do
Side Story.
musical and he did West Side Story
I-
and that
With
movie
that
is
with that
fantastic.
piece of
Alright.
luckily that is that guy. What's his name?
Ansel
Elgort.
Elgort. Ansel Elgort.
Piece of लकड़ी.
He is a lucky. He's not.
He's
Varun is
worse
not
than
now.
Kristen Stewart was in Twilight, dude.
And
Oh.
Kristen Stewart is a
I
damn
thought you
good
said
actor.
Kristen Stewart and Spencer.
No, Twilight.
On that note, we will end it.
ये स्पेंसर का कहाँ से आ गया भाई?
Pablo
Because-
Larraín represent.
No, I don't like that movie.
I
I
love
know,
that movie.
I know both of you do, Ashwani and
Which
love
one?
that.
Amartya.
Spencer.
Spencer.
Spencer. Yeah.
Love
But
that
I
movie.
think Nolan can do a horror because Aronofsky does. That is like my
Nolan can-
reference point.
You know what Nolan
Interesting.
can do? You know what Nolan can do horror for? Folk horror. Do a folk horror like
That
say,
is
Robert
expecting
Eggers.
too much. That is
I
expecting
think
too much.
I
am
think like
thinking industrial
science horror,
only.
scientific
Yeah,
horror.
science,
sort of.
industrial horror. Something
Yeah.
like 2001.
Eco
shit,
thriller,
but
eco horror he can do. Like
नहीं
eco
भाई, नहीं
collapse
भाई,
Novel
horror.
मुझे
horror.
how to blow
send
up
the
a pipeline
podcast to
नहीं
Nolan after this and tell him like
How
simping
to
for
blow
you.
up a pipeline is not horror. It's a manifesto.
It's the manifesto, yeah. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
आपको
Right.
pamphlet चाहिए? आप pamphlet लो जाके
It's
उनसे.
literally
Yes.
that, yeah.
Have you seen it, Ashwani? I'm very curious to know.
No, I've not yet. I
just
think
don't
I'll
like
watch
You
that
it.
see
movie.
it. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I mean, I can understand why people like it. I'm just like,
Hmm.
doesn't work. Anyways, my AirPods have run out of battery, and my laptop is almost
I'll
at the verge of dying. So
This was good though.
yeah.
This was quite good, yeah.
So you will
तो
have a
आप
hell
लोग-
lot of time editing it because अभी Tenet का सब निकालना पड़ेगा to shorten it.
आप लोग बोलो बहुत अच्छा है. Edit तो मुझे करना है ना.
वही मैं बोल रहा था.
भेज दो,
चलो
if
ठीक.
it's such a problem भेज दो, हम भी थोड़ा edit कर लेंगे.
नहीं ठीक है, मैं करता हूँ बैठ के.
खुद
नहीं,
responsibility
ध्रुव, you
लेगा
just
और फिर
Tell
फिर
कि अपना Tenet jokes निकाल दो यार और निकाल के मुझे वापस भेज दो.
No. I'll keep it 2 hours कर देंगे ये because it's 4 films and it's fairly like big films we're talking about. So yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Tenet is like, man, like I told you, in Inception, Tenet here in this
Listen,
podcast is like, man, कभी घुस जाता है.
I watched it thinking I like it more honestly, and I was just like,
You can stop the recording at least. ये part तो edit नहीं करना पड़ेगा.
नहीं वो खत्म भी तो करना पड़ेगा. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you stayed here for 2.5 hours like we did to talk about the 4 Nolan films. Our next episode will not have me, so you are lucky. You will be spared the Terrence Malick references at least. You will have Sanjeet, who will probably bring in RGV references.
It will be more control because Sanjeet will be like controlling all of us. अच्छा,
No.
Yeah.
He'll bring RGV.
Yes,
into
we
it.
will
So
pick
yes.
RGB.
So you'll have RGB references while talking about Dunkirk and Oppenheimer. So
I am curious to see what RGB
yes, exactly. But yes, thank you so much for listening. We'll plug all the descriptions for whoever has been part of this episode. That's Amartya, Varun, Ashwani, and Prithwish, who left because he had some work, which is fine. And me, if you want to follow me on Instagram. So
He
all
got
of that.
saved. He did not have to speak about Tenet. Just putting it out.
Okay, yeah. So last Tenet dig and khatam.